Vol 2, Chapter 144, Melee. Ventress, you really are here, Anakin Skywalker exclaimed, his teeth clenched as he engaged in a fierce duel with Ventress. Both were masters of lightsaber combat. Ventress, having languished in obscurity for so long, had seen her swordsmanship and strength grow increasingly violent after Count Dooku awakened the dark side of the Force within her. Meanwhile, Anakin Skywalker's abilities continued to rapidly develop amidst the heat of battle. Pong Krell muttered under his breath, "Foolish fool," before launching into action. His hands moved with lightning speed, sending two double-bladed lightsabers hurtling towards Anakin Skywalker as he shouted, "It seems Cody has joined forces with Ventress. Fear not, Anakin Skywalker. I am here to assist you." Suddenly, a figure darted in front of him, revealing itself to be Ahsoka Tano. She brandished her lightsaber, effectively blocking Pong Krell's path, and stated coldly, "I believe Anakin can handle Ventress on his own. Master Krell, your interference is unnecessary." Pong Krell glanced towards the ongoing duel and observed Ventress's imposing presence. She was relentlessly pushing Anakin Skywalker back, but Krell's keen observational skills and combat experience led him to conclude that Ventress would undoubtedly lose if the battle dragged on. "So, you would betray us as well, young apprentice?" Pong Krell's expression twisted into a snarl as he slowly advanced towards Ahsoka, who maintained her distance. Suddenly, with a snap of his teeth, he launched his double-bladed lightsabers at her, like bolts of lightning. Ahsoka, wielding a long and a short lightsaber, managed to block Pong Krell's attack, but the sheer force exerted by her opponent made her acutely aware of the pressure surrounding her, as if the very air was constricting her movements. In a battle between Jedi, this indicated that the opponent was using the Force to manipulate the environment, a tactic that almost guaranteed defeat. "Your true colors are revealed, traitor," Ahsoka declared, undaunted, as she met his attack head-on. Both wielded dual blades, but Ahsoka's use of the fifth form, Xian, allowed for more agile movements compared to Pong Krell's brute force approach, his double-bladed lightsabers spinning like a massive, unstoppable windmill. After several exchanges, Ahsoka found herself overwhelmed. In that moment, Anakin Skywalker intervened, using the Force to hurl a piece of metal at Ventress. As she dodged, he charged at Pong Krell, thwarting an attempt to land a fatal blow on Ahsoka. "I was mistaken about you, Pong Krell." Anakin's eyes blazed with fury as he faced the traitor. "I will rid the Jedi Order of your filth." Pong Krell responded with a sinister grin, his double-bladed lightsabers descending with the force of a mountain. However, Anakin, though not as powerful as Ahsoka, managed to block Krell's attack with a single blade. Anakin's lightsaber technique, the fifth form Xian, combined the defensive capabilities of the third form with the offensive prowess of the fourth. This complex style demanded exceptional control over the Force. Ahsoka, too, practiced this form, but her mastery fell short of Anakin's. The battle raged on, with Ahsoka simultaneously facing off against Asajj Ventress. However, the tide of the fight increasingly turned against Anakin and Ahsoka. Despite her status as a Jedi apprentice, Ahsoka struggled against Ventress, who forced her into a relentless retreat. Unlike Anakin's strategic defense, Ahsoka found herself unable to mount any effective counterattacks. It was only a matter of time before. The situation was dire for Anakin Skywalker. Pong Krell, a celebrated Jedi Order hero, was proving his mettle not through empty boasts, but through the sheer force of his combat prowess. His dual double-bladed lightsabers granted him an extensive range of attack, forcing Anakin to engage in a relentless test of strength. However, Pong Krell was a formidable opponent whose strength seemed unmatched. As the battle intensified, Anakin noticed a disturbing change in Pong Krell. His movements grew more ferocious and swift, his strength surged, and his eyes began to emit a sinister golden glow. "The dark side!" Anakin clenched his teeth in realization. "You've completely succumbed, Pong Krell." "Do you not see, Skywalker? The dark side offers me unparalleled power," Pong Krell sneered. With a powerful leap, he brought his lightsabers crashing down like thunderous hammers, unleashing a web of force lightning in all directions. Caught off guard, Anakin found himself ensnared by the lightning. He mustered all his strength to fend off the relentless assault. In that critical moment, a laser shot pierced the chaos. Pong Krell managed to deflect it with a swift motion, but the continuous beam pinned him down, rendering him immobile. It was the Leia assault transport ship that Anakin and his team had arrived in, with clone commander CC-2224 Cody manning the laser cannon. "General Skywalker, quick, this way," Cody yelled. Anakin, realizing that Ahsoka Tano was also struggling and that they were outmatched, used the Force to hurl the wreckage of a V-19 fighter jet at Pon Krell. Seizing this brief distraction, he exchanged a few blows with Asajj Ventress, then grabbed Ahsoka, tossing her towards Cody, before cutting himself off from them to face the onslaught from Pon Krell and Ventress alone, fighting a strategic retreat. Ahsoka, propelled by Anakin's throw, landed in the pilot's seat of the transport ship. She immediately fired up the engines, turned the ship towards the ceiling of the battleship hangar, and pressed the fire button. Whoosh! The rocket launcher on the LAI transport unleashed its fury. A series of explosions erupted, creating a spectacular firestorm. Anakin took advantage of the chaos to escape his pursuers and leaped onto the transport ship. Ahsoka sharply pushed the joystick forward, and the transport accelerated, breaking through the hangar's barriers and soaring out of the battleship Kent into the darkness of space. Watching the transport ship vanish, Pon Krell seethed with rage, turning his fury towards Asajj Ventress. "You fool! Incompetent! You couldn't even capture a clone, letting our prime opportunity slip through our fingers. Idiot!" His body was still radiating with the dark side's power, now reaching a terrifying intensity. Ventress, realizing her mistake, yet terrified by Pon Krell's darkened power, dared not retort and retreated in silence. Pon Krell shoved her aside and made his way to the bridge. His betrayal was now evident, and he knew he had to address it to secure victory in the battle for the planet Umbara. Vol 2, Chapter 1145, New Threats Emerge. Anakin Skywalker and Ahsoka Tano, with the assistance of Clone Commander Cody, designation 2224, narrowly escaped a deadly trap on Kent. It was during this harrowing escape that they uncovered the truth about Jedi Master Pon Krell's fall to the dark side. Krell had not only betrayed the Jedi Order, but had also conspired with the separatist dark acolyte, Asajj Ventress, to disrupt the war efforts on the planet Umbara. This revelation put the Galactic Republic's forces in a dire situation. The army under Pon Krell's command suffered devastating losses in a frontal assault and was further decimated by a bombardment from Kent. The Legion, originally numbering over 9,000, was reduced to fewer than 2,000 combat-ready troops. Anakin Skywalker's 501st Legion fared slightly better, with casualties under 3,000, but the collapse of Krell's Legion left them isolated and vulnerable. Compounding the problem was the fact that Krell's premature attack on the capital forced Anakin to adopt an aggressive strategy. This allowed the 501st Legion to break through enemy blockades and advance towards the capital more quickly. However, this move also exposed them to flanking maneuvers by Umbaran forces. The situation was further exacerbated when two Chira-class assault landing ships, critical for their operation, were compromised. One was captured by Asajj Ventress and the other was destroyed. These ships, which served as fortresses with formidable firepower and command centers, were a significant loss. With these assets gone, Umbaran forces could easily reinforce their positions in the capital. Meanwhile, the 212th Assault Battalion, tasked with intercepting Umbaran reinforcements, was forced to retreat after sustaining heavy casualties. This left the rear of the Republic forces exposed to an advancing Umbaran army numbering in the tens of thousands. In light of these developments, Anakin Skywalker made the difficult decision to retreat. He informed the Jedi Order of Master Pon Krell's betrayal and the grim situation on Umbara. Abandoning the initial plan to attack the capital, Anakin and his forces withdrew to their Chira-class assault landing ship to regroup and prepare for a defensive stance. Anakin also reached out to the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic, requesting additional reinforcements. The importance of reclaiming Umbara was underscored by Galactic Senate Speaker Sheev Palpatine, who emphasized that failure to do so would embolden other planets considering defection. Just as the Republic began mobilizing additional forces, alarming news arrived. Severance Tan, a notorious separatist general who had vanished after seizing the Eliadu system, resurfaced with a formidable fleet. Her flagship, the Conqueror-class battleship Doom, led an elite armada consisting of 5 Divinity-class destroyers and 10 Behemoth-class battlecruisers. This sudden attack targeted the Umbria system, where the Republic was assembling a fleet for a counteroffensive from Onderon. Despite the Republic's significant presence, including 30 Chaser-class battlecruisers, 3 Victory-class star destroyers, and 5 Cheerer-class assault landing ships, Severance Tan's forces achieved a crushing victory. Under Tan's brilliant command, the Behemoth-class battlecruisers unleashed their full might. Their primary weapon, the Yamato cannon, proved devastating against the Republic's defenses. The Chaser-class battlecruisers' deflector shields were no match for the Yamato cannon's firepower, highlighting a critical vulnerability in the Republic's fleet. The internal structure of the battleship also made it vulnerable to destruction. In the past, the Galactic Republic had only encountered the Behemoth-class battlecruisers in clusters a few times, and had suffered defeat in each encounter. However, the air battle in the Umbrella Galaxy dealt a direct and significant blow to the Galactic Republic. There's nothing more humiliating than having a fleet ready and assembling for departure, suddenly attacked, and almost entirely annihilated with virtually no capacity for retaliation. What made this situation even more daunting was that this time the Conqueror-class battleship Ruin didn't execute a solo raid like its predecessor, Fang. Instead, it served as the flagship, supporting the entire fleet. The formidable presence of the Conqueror class in fleet battles reaffirmed the Galactic Republic's fears. Severance Tan utilized Doom's directed high-energy electronic pulses to decimate the Republic fleet's fighter group, disrupt the fleet's formation, and then employed the Yamato cannons of the Behemoth-class battlecruisers to systematically destroy the Republic's Chaser-class ships. After obliterating the Republic fleet in the Umbria Galaxy, Severance Tan didn't pause. He vanished into the vast expanse of space. The Republic's plan to counterattack the planet Onderon was aborted before it could begin. The Republic's Supreme Strategic Command urgently halted counterattack plans in other sectors and convened a military meeting to devise countermeasures. The importance of this military conference escalated, eventually including Chancellor Schiff Palpatine and Master Windu, leader of the Jedi Order. Meanwhile, on the planet Rendili, Gary Ulan hastened through the grand and opulent palace, a setting that starkly contrasted with the usual elegance and serenity. His robe fluttered with each step, the light fabric accentuating the contours of his legs in a manner that was almost too revealing. Clearly, the robe was not designed with the dynamics of movement in mind. "Father!" Gary Ulan burst into the study, his tone bordering on impertinence. Before him, standing by the window and projecting an ancient book through a hologram, was a slender elderly man exuding an aura of authority. He was the supreme leader of the planet Rendili and the Rendili Interstellar Power Company, as well as the patriarch of the Ulan family, Bangila Ulan. With a gentle wave of his hand, he signaled the beautiful maids to leave, then turned to Gary Ulan with a slow inquiry. "Is it merely the appearance of doom that has you in such a state of panic? Gary, this is not the demeanor expected of the family heir." Gary Ulan, momentarily taken aback, replied, "You already know what I wish to discuss, Lord Father. The sudden emergence of doom, the aerial battle in the Umbrella Galaxy, that's what you're here to report," Bangila Ulan stated calmly. "This battle holds significant value for us." Gary Ulan responded eagerly. 3 Victory-class star destroyers participated, and the battle data indicates that the deflector shield of the Victory-class star destroyer can, to some extent, withstand the main cannon fire from the Behemoth-class battlecruisers. Even if the deflector shield is compromised, the strategic arrangement of the armor belt and the structural integrity of the star destroyer could maintain its combat capabilities. Bangila Ulan responded with composure. Compared to the Chaser-class battlecruisers, this battle provides a clear answer on how to confront the Behemoth-class battlecruisers. "Exactly. It's our Victory-class star destroyer," Gary Ulan exclaimed, his excitement palpable. "I've already mobilized the PR department, preparing an analysis report and simulated combat record of the Victory-class star destroyer to submit to the Republic Ship Supervision Committee. This could persuade the Republic to officially endorse the Victory class. And not just that, I've also laid out the plans for the Victory II class star destroyer." The speaker was brimming with enthusiasm, expecting a reaction that matched the gravity of their report. However, Bagheera Ulan's face remained devoid of the anticipated excitement. Instead, with a calm demeanor that seemed out of place given the context, he gently shook his head and said, "Contact the dead angel. The time has come." This response, unexpected and cryptic, hung in the air. The mention of the dead angel, a name shrouded in mystery and foreboding, suggested that their plans were about to take a turn toward something far more significant and possibly darker than mere shipbuilding. Vol 2, Chapter 1146, Desperation or Fortune. Today's challenge, 4 shifts, requesting a monthly pass. Contact the Death Angel? Father, do you truly harbor any illusions about our separatist efforts? No one else might be aware, but we should be acutely conscious of the fact that, no matter how vigorously the separatist movement fights, it won't last beyond 2 years, Gary Ulan said, his brow furrowed in concern. Oh, and you prefer to continue siding with the Republic? Bagheera Ulan retorted with a sneer. Isn't that your implication, Father? We have dedicated our utmost efforts to the Republic recently, even going to the lengths of bribing Republic officials. Our orders have seen an increase. Numerous factories have resumed operations, and the situation seems to be on the mend. Recall the last meeting about the Titan battleship Xuanwu, which was supposed to focus on the solar eclipse class. You insisted I attend, Gary Ulan argued, spreading his arms wide to emphasize his point. So should we wait until we're discarded like trash before we negotiate terms with the Death Angel? Bagheera Ulan questioned. This, Father, this. Gary Ulan was momentarily at a loss for words. Observing his son's confusion, Bagheera Ulan sighed and said, when the shipbuilding proposals for the Victory and Victory II classes are dismissed by the Republic's Ship Oversight Committee, the entire galaxy will recognize our downfall. At that moment, what options will you have besides sitting idly by? But 37 out of the 50-member expert panel of the Ship Oversight Committee have accepted our bribes. This expenditure alone is nearly 100 million credits. I am confident that our proposal will be approved. Moreover, with the recent aerial battle in the Umbrella Galaxy, it seems almost guaranteed that the Victory class will be incorporated into the official fleet of the Republic Navy. Father. Gary Ulan's confidence waned as he noticed his father's expression, his face turning ashen. Is it not certain, Father? Bagheera Ulan remained silent, merely gazing at him. Realization dawned on Gary Ulan. He clutched his hair in despair. No, can it truly be this dire? Would those Republic officials dare to accept the Randilli family's bribes and still betray us? Is the Ulan family name so worthless? He looked at his father again, his voice filled with desolation. Was everything you did previously just a facade? Has your resolve not wavered since the last clandestine meeting with the Death Angel? Have we, Randilli, truly reached such a nadir? Bagheera Ulan finally spoke. My beloved granddaughter, Adele Ulan, should be 16 years old this year. Father, are you suggesting, Gary began, inform the Death Angel that the Ulan family is prepared to offer a marriage alliance, presenting our daughter Adele Ulan as a pledge in exchange for the full support of the Confederation of Independent Systems. Additionally, I hope the Death Angel will personally visit the planet Randilli to fend off the Republic's assault and to marry his bride, Bagheera Ulan declared. Adele, she's also my cherished daughter. Father, I never imagined our family would face such a day. Gary Ulan said, his voice heavy with emotion, his eyes closed in resignation. Such is the fate of those born into nobility, Bagheera Ulan remarked. Is there truly no other way? Just 10 minutes ago, I believed our family's fortunes were improving. Gary Ulan still sought to find some hope. Bagheera Ulan remained silent, retreating back to the sofa, closing his eyes wearily, and gesturing for his son to leave. Gary Ulan bowed deeply. I'll make the necessary arrangements now, Father. To avoid drawing the Galactic Republic's attention, we will proceed with submitting the Victory class and Victory II class Star Destroyers plans for review. As for Adele, his voice trailed off, unable to continue. He bowed once more, then quickly exited the study. After a long silence, Bagheera Ulan opened his eyes and whispered to the empty room. I sometimes wish I hadn't lived so long. Perhaps it would have been better if the serious illness I had at 70 had taken me. Bagheera Ulan mused aloud. a hint of melancholy in his voice. "Why would you say such a thing, Lord Patriarch?" A low, female voice interrupted his solitude. Suddenly, the air by the windowsill distorted, revealing a short-haired woman clad in a black, form-fitting combat uniform, casually sitting with a bottle of wine in hand. It would have allowed Gary Ulan to ascend to the head of the family sooner, forcing him to mature quickly due to the pressing circumstances, Bangira Ulan explained with a self-deprecating chuckle. Instead, here I am, growing old, while the war across the galaxy intensifies, and the survival of our family hangs in the balance. Gary is now the head of the family, but he's struggling under the weight of it all. Lord Gary Ulan has always been deeply committed to his family and works tirelessly. He simply lacks experience. The education he received, combined with his innate intelligence, actually surpasses our initial estimations, the woman countered, taking a hearty swig from her bottle. Don't let your guard down with the individuals I've instructed you to monitor. When the time comes, I want them all eliminated simultaneously within 10 minutes to ensure we seize complete control of the Lundili defense fleet. Is that feasible? Bangira Ulan inquired. Give me 10 minutes, and I can even dictate the manner of their demise, the woman boasted playfully, her mechanical prosthetic arm gleaming in the light as she raised the wine bottle. Then proceed with the arrangements, and make sure Adal's safety is paramount, Bangira Ulan instructed. Consider it done, the woman affirmed, before activating her invisibility device once more. A faint sound echoed by the windowsill, and then silence enveloped the room once again. In the year 21 BBY, on October 22nd, the bustling capital of the Galactic Republic, Coruscant, hosted the official meeting of the Republic's Ship Oversight Committee. The agenda was to evaluate the combat performance and data of the Galactic Republic Navy's various ship types based on recent battles. Additionally, audits were to be conducted on several companies, including Quarter Power Shipyard, Lundili Star Dynamics, Corellia Engineering, among others, to discuss and propose the next phase of shipbuilding. This conference was scheduled to last approximately 15 days, concluding at the year's end. Following this, the new shipbuilding plan would be implemented at the start of the new year. The first topic is the Karak-class light cruiser, produced by Demorian Manufacturing, announced the chairman of the Republic's Ship Oversight Committee, reviewing the documents before him. In a series of recent engagements, the Karak-class light cruiser has demonstrated remarkable performance. It has successfully destroyed numerous separatist warships in battles across the planets of Janasa and Nur. Despite its modest length of only 350 meters, it has proven to be a significant threat to the separatists' main battleships. Its maximum speed, on par with that of fighter jets, makes it a valuable addition to the Republic fleet. Below the stage, representatives from the Demorian Company, a collaboration between Boza and humans, stood up. Although not the largest in scale, their Karak-class light cruiser had proven to be an efficient and effective warship, earning them commendation. The chairman continued, after thorough discussion and deliberation by the committee, it has been decided that the purchase of Karak-class light cruisers will continue into the next year. Applause erupted from the Demorian Company's representatives, who embraced each other in celebration of their success. Vol 2, Chapter 1147, Battleship Deliberation, Part 1. During a meeting of the Ship Oversight Committee, the chairman addressed the assembly, highlighting the feedback from frontline generals and officers regarding the Karak-class light cruiser. They suggested modifications to enable the cruiser to carry fighter jets, addressing its notable weakness against such aircraft. The representative from Demorian Company quickly assured the committee that an adjustment plan could be developed within 3 days. The Karak-class light cruiser has received orders totaling 1,219 units, amounting to 4.794 billion credit points, announced a clerk, prompting applause from the audience. Representatives of the Bosa people were visibly moved, shedding tears of joy. For smaller companies like Demorian, securing a national-level order of nearly 5 billion was not just an honor but a significant achievement. Beyond the financial gain, manufacturing warships for the Republic of China Navy would greatly enhance their reputation, proving more beneficial than 1 billion credit points spent on advertising. The president then shifted focus to the Centax-class heavy frigates constructed by the Suluzvan shipyard. Recent battles had demonstrated that these frigates were outmatched by the separatist Javelin-class missiles, leading to a decision to discontinue their production. This announcement caused a stir among some attendees who expressed their discontent in hushed tones. The review process was extensive, given the Galactic Republic Navy's diverse fleet comprising hundreds of different warship models. On the third day of the meeting, Gary Ulan, representing Lundilly Interstellar Dynamics, noticed the presence of representatives from industry giants such as Quarter Power Dock and Corellia Engineering. The atmosphere was markedly different from the previous sessions focused on smaller companies. The assembly was now clearly segmented, reflecting the intricate relationships among the industry's major players. For instance, the group from Quarter Power Dock was the largest, including affiliates like Republic CNR Systems and Rosanna Heavy Engineering Company. Corellia Engineering's representatives were accompanied by partners such as Nubia Dynamics and Laronar. In contrast, Lundilly Interstellar Dynamics was only accompanied by its subsidiaries, highlighting the competitive nature of the industry. Despite the tense atmosphere, Gary Ulan remained focused, exchanging warm smiles with the members of the Ship Oversight Committee. However, internally, he harbored no illusions about their loyalty. He bitterly reflected on the situation, recognizing that the polite gestures were merely superficial, bought with a hefty sum of 100 million credit points. He lamented the change from the days of Finis Valorum, the last speaker of the Republic, when mere acknowledgement from him would have ensured eager cooperation from these committee members. Gary Ulan sat at the center of the assembly, surrounded by representatives of various subsidiary companies, much like the moon encircled by stars. As these representatives stood to salute him, one from the Rendelli Vanjavari's drive dock caught his eye with a nod and a covert gesture, signaling that their plan was proceeding smoothly. Unbeknownst to their target, who remained blissfully unaware of the brewing storm, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Gary couldn't help but feel a surge of disdain. His gaze then shifted to the Quat power dock, where he noticed Little Quat looking back at him with a laugh. Little Quat's demeanor was effortlessly genuine, devoid of any pretense, seemingly extending a hand of friendship. Yet, Gary couldn't bring himself to trust him, dismissing him as nothing more than a pretender. The meeting progressed, and the chairman of the Ship Oversight Committee began to review some of the standout designs from the Quat power dock. Let's discuss the Perta-class frigate, measuring 282.24 meters in length, he started, his voice dripping with sycophancy. This frigate boasts robust bow, armor, and exceptional maneuverability. Over the past year, it has excelled as a medical frigate and cargo escort. As such, we've decided to commission an additional 2,193 ships, totaling an order value of 10.247 billion credits. Despite his fawning tone, Little Quat and his colleagues remained unimpressed, exuding an air of arrogance as they sat there, indifferent to the chairman's praise. The chairman continued, undeterred. Next, we have the Artanis-class light cruiser. Despite its widespread acclaim, I must share the feedback from our expert panel and frontline officers. This warship is renowned for its speed, durability, and firepower, making a significant impact across numerous space battles within its 350-meter-long frame. He announced with a flourish, the Galactic Republic Navy has decided to increase its order for the Artanis-class light cruiser to 4,000 units in the upcoming fiscal year, with an order value of 17.178 billion credits. Gary Ulan's expression darkened upon hearing these figures. Each meeting of the Ship Oversight Committee had become a source of frustration for him as he watched the Quat power dock secure orders that dwarfed his own by comparison. Initially, he had believed technical superiority was the deciding factor, but it had become clear that politics played a far more significant role. The chairman continued to extol the virtues of the Quat power dock's extensive product line, which ranged from Army to Navy equipment, including warships and tanks. He noted that reviewing Quat's offerings would take no less than 5 days, given the need to cover battlefield performance, usage reports, cost management, and production control among other data points. The complexity of this review process was such that it couldn't be fully captured in just a few words. Note, these chapters primarily summarize the types of warships employed by the Galactic Republic. Vol 2, Chapter 1148, Deliberation of the Battleship, Middle. Gary Ulan spent his days in the Republic's Ship Oversight Committee meetings, feeling each discussion about the number of orders like sharp knives piercing his heart. The topic had finally progressed to the crucial matter, the Chaser-class battlecruiser. This was a significant point of discussion because the Galactic Republic invested hundreds of billions of dollars into the Chaser-class battlecruisers annually. To underscore its importance, the Speaker of the Galactic Republic, Schiff Palpatine, attended the meeting personally to oversee the deliberation of these formidable ships. The first point we need to establish is that the Chaser-class battlecruiser is indeed a classic and powerful warship, began the chairman of the Ship Oversight Committee, who seemed fond of labeling Quartz warships as classic. The Chaser class is essentially an aviation battleship, boasting a maximum carrying capacity of 420 aircraft. Despite this impressive capacity, it still maintains strong firepower, mobility, and protection. He proceeded to present a series of data. In the early stages of conflict with the Separatist fleet, the Chaser-class battlecruisers demonstrated a clear advantage against the Separatists' main battleships, such as the Generous-class communication frigates and the Disobedient-class light destroyers. Only the rare and expensive Divine Will-class destroyers could compete with them. However, the design, no matter how classic, faces limitations due to the evolving nature of warfare. The emergence of the Separatist Cole-class battlecruisers and the Behemoth-class battlecruisers posed a significant threat to the Chaser class. A common feature of these warships is the President activated a holographic projection displaying detailed cross-sectional views of both the Cole class and the Behemoth. The Cole class was depicted in great detail, while the Behemoth class was represented with fewer lines and data. They both possess a super main gun that is extremely powerful but slow to charge, he continued. The Cole class's large electromagnetic gun and the Behemoth class's Yamato cannon, along with the Titan's super electromagnetic gun, represent a strategic direction in the design of the Separatist forces' warships. Schiff Palpatine, with a grave expression, interjected. So, you're suggesting that the Separatists, including Dawn Planet and the Fourth Group, developed the Cole class and Behemoth class specifically to exploit the weaknesses of the Chaser class. Exactly, the chairman confirmed. Recent air battles in the Umbria Galaxy have highlighted this vulnerability of the Chaser class battlecruiser, rendering it nearly ineffective against the Behemoth class. At this juncture, Lila Blissex, the chief warship designer at the quarter power dock, stood up and respectfully addressed Palpatine. May I provide some insight into this matter? Palpatine nodded in approval. The Chaser class struggles against the Cole and Behemoth classes primarily due to differing design philosophies. The Chaser class was not conceived as a mere warship. It was designed with the capability of single ship suppressing a planet in mind. Thus, it is equipped with marines, vehicles, and up to 420 fighter aircraft. Considering the power output of our current supermatter reactors, maintaining the warship size at about 1,000 meters is optimal. This size also allows for atmospheric entry, so we've dedicated considerable effort to optimizing the internal layout, Leela explained, revealing the intricate internal structure of the Chaser-class battlecruiser, including the hangar, energy system, and cargo warehouse. Within the confines of the Chaser-class battlecruiser, space was a premium commodity. Every inch was meticulously utilized, housing a command center capable of supporting an entire legion's operations on a planetary scale. Despite its compact interior, the Chaser class maintained formidable firepower and shields. Gary Ulan couldn't help but roll her eyes as Lila Blissex, with a tone dripping with arrogance, began to extol the virtues of her design. Or rather, what she claimed as her design. In truth, it was her father, Willix Blissex, who was the mastermind behind the Charioteer, skillfully engineering a vessel that could adapt to nearly any scenario. This wasn't a feat Lila, with her vanity and thirst for recognition, could achieve. It was this very arrogance that had driven a wedge between father and daughter, and leading Willix Blissex to depart for Lundilli. Watching Lila take credit for the chasseur class only elicited a sneer from Gary Yulan. "I'm more interested in the critical aspects, Miss Lila," Palpatine interjected, his smile polite, yet his tone leaving no room for argument. Gary Yulan's lips twitched upward slightly, noting that the speaker shared her skepticism. However, despite personal opinions, her father had always advised caution around the speaker. He was not one to be taken lightly. The Chaser class's primary vulnerability lies in its compact design. The ship utilizes every available space so efficiently that it only has a single layer of armor, Leela explained. Although our advancements in material technology have enabled this armor to withstand direct hits from turbo laser cannons, a breach would be catastrophic. Palpatine nodded, absorbing the information. So, the Chaser class is particularly susceptible to the Cole and Behemoth classes, because a single hit from their main guns could leave it incapacitated or even destroyed. Exactly. The Chaser class's single layer of armor and the absence of explosion-proof compartments mean that any breach could lead to significant functional damage. Furthermore, its lack of adequate heat insulation and buffering has led to instances where a fire in a compartment adjacent to the energy core resulted in the core's explosion, Leela confirmed. "And is there a solution to these vulnerabilities?" Palpatine inquired. Shaking her head, Leela responded, "The design challenges of the Chaser-class battlecruiser are too complex and interwoven for a simple solution. Its comprehensive design leaves no room for significant upgrades." Gary Ulan observed the exchange with a cold gaze. It wasn't that modifications were impossible, it was that Lila refused to alter her father's original design. "However, we have developed a contingency plan at the quarter power dock. Introducing the Tector Star Destroyer," Lila Blissix announced, shifting the conversation to their latest project. Destroyers was placed, marking a significant step forward in the Republic's military capabilities. The Knight-class Star Destroyer, as presented by Lila Blissix, was a marvel of military engineering. Its design prioritized ship-to-ship combat, boasting an impressive arsenal of 60 XX-9 heavy turbo-laser cannons, 60 large ion cannons, additional heavy turbo-laser and ion cannons, and 40-point defense laser cannons. This firepower was enough to intimidate or destroy any contemporary battleship in the galaxy. The projection displayed a massive, triangular wedge-shaped battleship that exuded a sense of overwhelming power. Its most distinctive feature was the huge monolithic bridge that stood proudly above the stern, signaling its command and control capabilities. Gary Ulan, however, was not entirely impressed. He noticed the striking resemblance between the Knight-class and the Victory-class Star Destroyers produced by Randili Star Dynamics, except for the significant difference in size. The Knight-class was nearly twice as long, measuring an astonishing 1,600 meters. This similarity raised concerns about the redundancy and potential competition between the two classes of Star Destroyers. Despite these concerns, Lila Blissix confidently addressed the assembly, highlighting the Knight class's lack of a hangar platform as a deliberate design choice. This decision was made to focus on combating the separatist capital ships, even capable of dealing a fatal blow to the formidable separatist Xuanwu Titan battleship with sufficient numbers. Palpatine, however, questioned the absence of carrier-based aircraft and its potential impact on operations. Lila Blissix reassured him, explaining that the Republic Navy already possessed ample Chaser-class battlecruisers and carrier-based aircraft protection. She emphasized that the Knight-class was a highly specialized fleet-type battleship designed to complement the existing naval forces. Furthermore, Lila Blissix revealed plans for an even more ambitious project, the Imperial-class Star Destroyer. This new design would be more comprehensive than the Knight-class, featuring a moderately sized hangar to accommodate carrier-based aircraft, addressing any operational limitations previously noted. The deliberation concluded with Shift Palpatine expressing his satisfaction with the Knight-class Star Destroyer. He commended Lila Blissix and the Quarter Power Dock for their innovative design and promptly placed an order for 500 units. This decision underscored the Republic's commitment to strengthening its military presence in the galaxy and preparedness for any future conflicts. In the fiscal year, the cost of procuring Knight-class Star Destroyers was a significant expenditure for the Galactic Republic. The Quat power dock quoted a price of 140 million credit points per unit. After thorough cost accounting, the final approved purchase price was set at 122 million. The order for 500 Knight-class Star Destroyers alone amounted to a staggering 61 billion credit points. Additionally, the Galactic Republic's military placed an order for 600 Chaser-class battlecruisers. They requested that Lila Blissex work on reducing the cost of the Chariot-class ships, aiming to repurpose them as second-line support vessels, essentially serving as aircraft carriers. Consequently, the total expenditure for these two orders surpassed 100 billion credit points. Observing the self-satisfied expressions on the faces of Little Quarter and Lila Blissex, Gary Ulan felt an overwhelming urge to confront them physically, despite his status. After the day's meeting, Gary Ulan returned to his mansion on Coruscant. He first briefed his father, Bangira Ulan, on the meeting's outcomes before contacting Willix Blissex via holographic projection. Willix, a tall, kind-faced middle-aged man with a receding hairline, likely a result of countless late nights, appeared before Gary. Willix Blissex, Lila's father, was a renowned warship designer, currently serving as the chief engineer at Lundilly Interstellar Dynamics. Despite his bar, Illiance, many overlooked his talents in favor of his daughter Lila, who was perceived as the superior designer. This misconception was partly because Willix, despite his genius, struggled with modern technology and preferred traditional methods like rulers, compasses, and pens for his designs, relying on Lila to digitize his work. This often led to Lila's name being the one associated with the designs, a fact that Willix was indifferent to. Over time, Willix grew disillusioned with Quarter Power Dock's direction, focusing more on the destructive capabilities of their warships rather than on ending conflicts. Lila, on the other hand, was ambitious, aiming for higher status and possibly nobility, leading to a rift between father and daughter. Today, Lila presented the Knight-class Star Destroyer design on behalf of Quarter Power Dock, and it was approved, Gary Ulan reported. He then mentioned the Imperial-class version, which was essentially the same design with an added hangar, expressing disbelief at Quarter Power Dock's audacity to submit it as a distinct model. Willix responded calmly, acknowledging that Lila had access to his initial Victory-class Star Destroyer designs and could easily develop the more formidable Knight class based on them. However, he lamented that the Knight class did not achieve the performance its size and cost should have warranted, especially when compared to the more cost-effective Victory and Chaser classes. The conversation shifted to the next day's agenda, which included discussing a new fighter model, the Alpha 3 Nimbus V-Wing starfighter, curiously named after Willix. He explained that it was a request from an old friend, Jedi Master Sas Tin, who was combating the mysterious mechanical beings known as the Geth in the galaxy's north. The current V-19 fighters were inadequate against the Geth's air power, necessitating a more powerful replacement. Gary Ulan, intrigued, was about to inquire further when he hesitated, leaving the question unasked. Halfway through his words, Gary Ulan paused, reflecting on the gravity of their discussion. You see, if we hand over this design to Lundilly, it's likely all our efforts will be in vain. Our frontline fighters would be stuck using the outdated V-19, but there's more to it, he didn't say aloud. The V-19 fighter was becoming obsolete. Compared to the Ghost fighters, which had evolved from the A-type to the G-type, the V-19 stood no chance. The Galactic Republic was in dire need of a new fighter jet. Gary Ulan sighed deeply, his voice tinged with exhaustion. Promise me, there won't be a next time, okay? I'm tired of the Republic's intrigues, and I truly won't do this again, he said. Willix Blissex, understanding the weight of the situation, nodded. Hence, it's clear that this new V-Wing fighter will take over from the V-19 Torrent as the Republic's primary fighter. This means another massive order. Considering the V-19's orders this fiscal year, we're looking at an official order for the V-Wing exceeding 100,000 units, Gary Ulan explained. Is there anything else that might interest me? Willix asked, his tone indicating he wished to conclude the conversation. The Republic's SENA system has proposed a plan for the TIE fighter, and it appears Court is backing this initiative. It seems they've formed a strategic alliance, Gary Ulan shared. A TIE fighter plan? Willix inquired, intrigued. Yes, the Republic's Cena system is seeking about $10 billion in research funding from the Republic, and it looks like they'll likely secure around $8.5 billion. Gary Ulan elaborated. And what of Lundili? Willix pressed, sensing there was more to the story. Gary Ulan fell silent, the weight of the conversation bearing down on him. After a moment, he finally spoke. It's getting late. You should get some rest, Mr. Willix. With that, the communication ended. Gary Ulan walked to the balcony, gazing out at the luminous night sky over Lausanne. His eyes may have been fixed on the stars, but his thoughts wandered far beyond, contemplating the future, and the decisions that lay ahead. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, the Knight-class Star Destroyer, in appearance, closely resembles the Empire-class, with the primary difference being a slightly slimmer hull and the absence of a hangar hatch on the underside. Truthfully, the differences are so minimal they're almost indistinguishable. Volume 2, Chapter 1150, Squeezed Out. Author's Note. My apologies for the confusion in the previous chapter regarding the classification of Imperial-class starships. Initially, I mistakenly thought the term Commander-class or Emperor-class, Imperator, used during the Republic period was a fan-made rumor, as I couldn't find official references. However, upon revisiting the English sources, I realized my error, as both names were indeed used. I have corrected the previous chapter accordingly. The Republic Ship Oversight Board's meeting was, as expected, dominated by the bids from Quarter Power Dock and Corellia Engineering. Quarter Power Dock secured contracts worth over 300 billion credits, encompassing a wide range of military hardware, including warships, marine equipment, and fighter jets. Corellia Engineering, leveraging the popularity of its DP-20 gunboats, CR-series frigates, and a plethora of small transport ships and airspeed vehicles, clinched orders amounting to more than 180 billion credits through sheer volume. However, when Lundili Interstellar Dynamics presented their bid, the atmosphere among the Ship Supervision Committee's expert panel shifted. They hesitated, citing the need for further review and expressing concerns that the logistics for the Victory-class Star Destroyer didn't align with the Republic's current capabilities. They sought various pretexts to postpone their decision. The committee also downplayed the significance of the Victory-class Star Destroyer's participation in the Umbrella Galaxy conflict, arguing that the involvement of only 3 such ships provided an insufficient data sample to assess their effectiveness against Behemoth-class adversaries. The chairman further pointed out that, despite their performance, all 3 Victory-class ships were ultimately destroyed, which, in his view, invalidated any argument in their favor. Gary Ulan, who would have previously reacted with outrage, remained surprisingly indifferent. He laid out the combat data, which showed that a Behemoth-class battlecruiser's Yamato cannon required 4 to 5 shots to destroy a Victory-class Star Destroyer, compared to just 2.2 shots on average for a Hunter-class vessel. This indicated that, with shields in good condition, a Victory class could withstand 2 to 3 hits. Once the shields were depleted, the armor could absorb several more impacts, significantly enhancing their survivability and allowing them to fire multiple salvos before succumbing. Despite presenting these findings, the committee's response was non-committal, promising an official order only if more data became available. They eventually made a token order of 20 Victory-class ships, a mere 1.1 billion credits, which felt like a pittance. This decision created a catch-22. Without sufficient battle data, no substantial orders would be placed, but without orders, the Victory class would soon become obsolete. The implication was clear. If Lundili Interstellar Dynamics couldn't secure orders for the Victory class, there was little hope for the upgraded Victory 2 class, let alone a hypothetical Victory 3 class. Gary couldn't help but laugh bitterly at the situation, recognizing the endless loop they were trapped in. Ulan's gaze swept across the members of the expert group, his heart simmering with frustration. These individuals reaped the benefits of Lundili's prosperity, donning lavish attire, indulging in exquisite meals, and surrounding themselves with beauty, all while offering empty promises. Their duplicity knew no bounds, especially evident during formal proceedings, where they hid behind bureaucratic jargon. The disappointment was palpable when Lindili Interstellar Dynamics product review concluded with a mere $6 billion in orders. Yet, Gary Ulan, the representative, maintained a composed demeanor. With a courteous nod to the committee's chairman, he optimistically announced, "While the Victory-class Star Destroyer has its shortcomings, we've undertaken significant improvements. The Victory 2-class Star Destroyer is in its final design phase, with construction expected to commence within 3 months. We plan to produce 5 prototype ships and kindly request the committee to conduct another review." Unbeknownst to Ulan, his hopeful expression caught the eye of Schiff Palpatine, the chairman of the Galactic Council, who was observing from a distance. Palpatine's smile was unsettling, a mix of greed, cruelty, and anticipation, his eyes gleaming with a menacing light. However, this expression was fleeting, and he soon turned to nod at the Ship Supervision Committee's chairman, who eagerly responded, "Of course, we will gladly convene a special review meeting to assess the new Victory 2-class Star Destroyer upon its completion." "I eagerly await our meeting in 3 months," Ulan concluded, before departing the venue with representatives from Lindili's major corporations. As the meeting progressed without the involvement of the 3 industrial titans of the Galactic Republic, Palpatine's interest waned. He had already set his sights on a more intriguing matter. Returning to his office, he summoned his deputy speaker, Masameda. The tall, blue-skinned Chagrian entered, immediately sensing the chilling aura that enveloped Palpatine. Masameda, thoroughly intimidated by Palpatine's darker aspects, approached the desk with trepidation, bowing deeply and inquiring softly, "Your Excellency, Speaker, what do you command?" "Prepare yourself. Lindili is on the brink of chaos," Palpatine declared, his tone laced with dark anticipation. "Lindili Interstellar Dynamics, but how?" Masameda was taken aback. "Clearly, they've been sidelined and stand no chance of securing future orders. Their only recourse to avoid bankruptcy is to explore alternative strategies," Palpatine explained with a cold edge. Masameda, puzzled, mentioned, "But according to the meeting minutes, Lindili has high hopes for their Victory 2-class Star Destroyer. They believe it could surpass the Chaser class and even the new Knight class. It doesn't make sense for them to resort to betrayal." Palpatine's response was marked by a chilling silence, hinting at the complex web of politics and power plays that lay beneath the surface of the Galactic Republic's industrial machinations. Vol. 2, Chapter 1151, Corellia. Corellia was on the brink of a significant shift, one that could alter the balance of power within the Galactic Republic. Palpatine, with his keen insight into the political undercurrents, had discerned a betrayal in the making. The evidence, he believed, was found in the behavior of Gary Ulan, the heir of the Lindili family, one of the Republic's 3 industrial titans. Despite suffering great injustice at a recent meeting, Gary maintained a demeanor that was suspiciously calm, almost as if he had undergone a drastic change overnight or had ceased caring about the consequences. "Is it not evident from his expression alone?" Palpatine sneered, addressing Masameda, who struggled to grasp the gravity of the accusation against such a prominent family. "Do you doubt my judgment?" Palpatine's cold inquiry sent shivers down Masameda's spine, prompting an immediate and fearful response. He pledged to take swift action, understanding the importance of controlling the planetary defense fleet of planet Lindili to prevent any rebellion. Palpatine's laughter echoed through the room as he mocked Bangira Ulan's attempts to court favor with the Republic, deeming his loyalty overly suspicious. "Who does he think he is fooling?" Palpatine mused before abruptly turning serious. "It's time to end this," he declared, setting in motion a plan that would ensure the Republic's dominance over Lindili. Meanwhile, on the planet Corellia, the heart of the Galactic Republic's shipbuilding industry thrived. Home to the renowned Corellian Engineering Company, CEC, the planet was responsible for producing at least half of the galaxy's spacecraft. Despite the presence of massive warships and various civilian spacecraft bearing the CEC mark, Corellia was more than just an industrial powerhouse. With a diameter of 11,000 kilometers and located closest to the star Corel, the planet was the largest in the Corellian system. However, its population was relatively sparse, totaling only 3 billion, a stark contrast to the bustling activity and opportunities that attracted a floating population, which could surge up to 16.5 billion during peak times. The sparse population was attributed to the unique environment of the Corellian galaxy and the innate spirit of exploration and business acumen of its people. The galaxy boasted 5 habitable planets: Corellia, Draal, Salonia, Tas, and Traz, known collectively as the Five Brothers. This phenomenon was unparalleled across the galaxy, fueling rumors of an ancient super-civilization that might have artificially arranged these planets. Despite the industrial advancements and the allure of opportunity, Corellia faced environmental challenges, with much of its native landforms polluted and destroyed. Yet, the planet remained a beacon of prosperity and innovation, a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of its inhabitants. As the Galactic Republic stood on the cusp of change, Corellia's strategic importance and the unfolding political drama underscored the complex interplay of power, loyalty, and ambition that defined the galaxy's tumultuous landscape. The Corellian system, a conglomerate of the 3 main races, humans, Solonians, and Dalarians, formed an independent political entity that actively sought expansion beyond its borders. They pioneered the Corellian trade route and established the Corellian hyperspace channel, the most prosperous and stable hyperspace route in the galaxy. This initiative extended their influence to hundreds of galaxies along the path, effectively bringing these galaxies under their control through acquisitions. This region came to be known as the Corellian Corridor, a cluster of galaxies renowned for its highly developed commerce and industry. Upon joining the Galactic Republic, the Corellian Engineering Company was swiftly founded, quickly rising to become the premier shipbuilding entity in the galaxy. The existence of the Corellian Corridor allowed them to distribute their industrial system across dozens, if not hundreds, of galaxies. As a war, Assault, the original 5 habitable planets of the Corellian galaxy, colloquially known as the Five Brothers, boasted a combined population of less than 4 billion, but possessed one of the most advanced industrial systems in the Milky Way. However, this development also attracted numerous races and organizations from the galaxies within the Corellian Corridor, each bringing their own ideas and interests. Consequently, the Corellian galaxy, especially the planet Corellia, became a melting pot of diverse cultures and interests. The Corellian Engineering Company, focused solely on its factories and industries, paid little attention to the welfare of the populace on these planets. This neglect fostered an environment ripe for the growth of criminal organizations, among which the Scarlet Dawn emerged as one of the most formidable gangs within the Corellian system. Tang Xiao, holding a glass of lavender wine, took a sip and gazed out at the port. The shallow waters, tinted a pale yellow, were bustling with activity. More than a dozen colossal construction machines, each standing 100 meters tall, slowly traversed the landscape on long mechanical legs, positioning large machinery into place. In the distance, massive ships sailed, transporting raw materials and parts to the planet's major industrial zones. The sky was alive with spaceships of varying sizes, from dream-filled explorers and hopeful workers to bounty hunters and smugglers with hidden agendas. Despite the presence of mountains and seas, the area exuded a stark industrial ambience, bordering on oppressive. Ha ha ha! Big brother Tang Xiao, our meetings have become less frequent since the war began. I'm truly honored that you've made time to visit, said a man with a scarred face and a fierce demeanor, attempting to muster a kind smile as he addressed Tang Xiao, who was noticeably younger than him. This man was Dryden Voss, the formidable leader of the Scarlet Dawn and one of the most influential gangsters in the Corellian system. It's nothing out of the ordinary. The conflict in the Iliadu system has concluded, and I find myself with some spare time. I figured it's an opportune moment to pursue some endeavors, and starting from the Republic seemed most convenient. Since I was in the vicinity, I thought it prudent to pay you a visit. That's not an issue, is it? Tang Xiao replied with a smile. His casual demeanor took Dryden Voss by surprise. The Tang Xiao he knew, especially considering his darker and more powerful side, had never been so approachable before. Volume 2, Chapter 152, Journey to Corellia, Part 1. Tang Xiao paid no mind to Dryden Voss's astonishment. On the planet Dagobah, after he harnessed the violent dark side force with the Dark Reaper, his temperament became less susceptible to the dark side's influence. Initially, Tang Xiao wasn't inherently malicious, but at times, the dark side's pull was irresistible. It kindled an unquenchable fire within his heart, akin to a series of unfortunate events, stepping in something unpleasant first thing in the morning, discovering cockroaches in your soup at lunch, being inexplicably fired, and then dealing with queue-jumpers at a nucleic acid test site. Under such influence, even the most mundane conversations could escalate into conflicts. The dark side perpetually stoked the flames of anger or fear, pushing individuals to their extremes without them even realizing it. Now, however, the dark side's grip on him had significantly weakened, and his spirit had grown more resilient. Under Darth Plagueis' tutelage, he had managed to maintain his composure despite the dark side's allure, using his formidable will to stay true to his heart. Although his personality had taken on a more extreme edge, his objectives remained unchanged. Now the diminished power of the dark side could no longer sway his spirit. Tang Xiao was well aware that his profound understanding of the dark side and his formidable strength meant that it was only a matter of time before the dark force would once again saturate his being. Nevertheless, he relished this brief respite. His journey to planet Corellia was as much about recuperating and allowing his strength to replenish as it was about taking a well-deserved break. Anyway, brother, your visit shows that you haven't forgotten about me, even though you're now among the most powerful individuals in the galaxy, Dryden Voss remarked. Here in Corellia, my word is law. Whatever you desire, just say the word, and I'll make it happen. Tang Xiao chuckled. Forget about you? How could I? After all, I'm responsible for at least 70% of your spice smuggling operations. Dryden Voss burst into laughter. I was only teasing. Everyone knows of your prowess, brother. Ever since Mr. Hege's passing, you've been invincible across the galaxy, which truly inspires me. With a stable spice supply, thanks to Tang Xiao, Dryden Voss had become untouchable in Corellia. As they continued their conversation, Tang Xiao inquired about Mrs. Pixie and her white worm operation, learning that she had prepared a feast in his honor. However, the mood shifted when Tang Xiao mentioned a potential threat. You should be cautious. Someone might be plotting to kill you. Dryden Voss, initially amused, turned serious. You're not joking. Who would dare? Darth Maul, a red-skinned Zabrak, Tang Xiao revealed. Unfamiliar with Sith lore, Dryden Voss listened intently as Tang Xiao explained that Darth Maul, once a Sith Lord, was now orchestrating a dark conspiracy from the shadows, with the Crimson Dawn, and by extension Dryden Voss, as one of his targets. Though Dryden Voss had narrowly evaded Darth Maul's clutches in the original storyline, the future remained uncertain. Tang Xiao saw this as an opportunity to ensure Dryden Voss's loyalty, making him a more compliant ally in the days to come. The atmosphere around Dryden Voss turned frosty as he slowly took a seat opposite Tang Xiao. With his hands clasped beneath his chin, his voice was icy. Given what you've said, eldest brother, it seems I must act first and eliminate this threat. I doubt you possess the capability, Tang Xiao responded calmly. Do you recall our joint effort against the Dark Sun more than a decade ago? Of course, it was a memorable battle, Dryden Voss acknowledged. In the end, it was this individual who vanquished the last Vigos of the Black Sun and obliterated their leadership, including Darth Maul. Your current forces are likely no match for the Black Sun of that era. If he could dismantle the Black Sun, he could certainly dismantle your Scarlet Dawn, Tang Xiao explained. However, since you've brought this up, big brother, you must have a strategy in mind, correct? Dryden Voss inquired. Tang Xiao shook his head. I have no intention of killing him. This person is deeply entangled in matters of great importance to me. However, you're correct. I do have a plan to protect you. It's quite straightforward, involving just a bit of intelligence. This will benefit us both. I'm at your service, elder brother. Just command me, Dryden Voss pledged. Keep an eye on the Mandalorian system. He will show up there. It's a neutral galaxy where your agents can observe without drawing attention. Expect him within the next year. Monitor the situation, and then it will be time for us to act. Consider it done, Tang Xiao replied with a slight smile, clinking his glass against Dryden Voss's. However, to be frank, big brother, I sense there's a larger scheme at play here. Dryden Voss remarked. If you wish, you're welcome to join me on Dawn Planet, possibly even as a fleet commander. What do you say? Tang Xiao deftly changed the subject. Brother, you jest, Dryden Voss replied. A fleet capable of obliterating all your power and wealth, and you decline? Tang Xiao teased. Oh, I couldn't possibly, Dryden Voss chuckled. Tang Xiao smiled. So do you see, I indeed have a grander scheme, but it's not something you need to concern yourself with. Ha! You Force users always speak in riddles, but it does make sense upon reflection, Dryden Voss laughed. Anyway, big brother, let's not dwell on what grand plans you have for the galaxy. How about we focus on tonight's feast? Mrs. Bixie has prepared a surprise for you. Hey, I can already guess the surprise she's arranged. No need to mention it. Tang Xiao took another sip of his wine. Actually, I'm the one who has prepared a surprise for you. Vol 2, Chapter 153, A Trip to Corellia. No matter how picturesque a planet may appear on the surface, it invariably harbors an unsightly underbelly. This is particularly true for a place like Corellia, dominated by megacorporations where the only currency is self-interest. Here, dignity is a commodity, lives are trampled underfoot, and morality is discarded. Some individuals are merely struggling to survive amidst a web of intrigue where trust is non-existent, and the slightest advantage can lead to betrayal of even the closest allies. Gangs roam the streets, where skirmishes are a daily occurrence, and the sounds of gunshots and explosions fill the night air. Yet, the Corellian Planetary Security Guard often turns a blind eye to such chaos, intervening only when situations escalate beyond control. For conglomerates like Corellia Engineering, these tumultuous areas are essential for sourcing the labor they require. After all, many tasks cannot be performed by robots, and those that can are prohibitively expensive. In comparison, the impoverished masses, struggling at society's fringes, are a more cost-effective solution. This is the shadowy underbelly of Corellia, a stark contrast to the planet's surface beauty. Tang Xiao and Dryden Voss are currently navigating one of the streets adjacent to the port. A breeze carries the mingled scents of rust, oil, and sea, clinging to the skin in a sticky film that leaves one questioning whether it's sweat or the airborne grime. The area is flanked by haphazardly constructed buildings, their facades cluttered with disorganized holographic advertisements that contribute to a sense of visual pollution. To the right, a colossal ship is docked at the sea, its exposed section towering over 100 meters high. Walking beside it, the ship looms like a metallic city wall, casting an oppressive shadow over the street. The street is populated by a diverse array of individuals, the inebriated, brawlers, the downtrodden, and the malevolent. However, upon noticing Tang Xiao and Dryden Voss, these individuals give them a wide berth, steering clear of their path. This reaction isn't solely due to the 4 menacing bodyguards trailing them, blaster rifles slung over their shoulders, but also because of their attire and the distinctive golden interlaced circle emblem emblazoned on the back of their clothes, the mark of Scarlet Dawn. This notorious criminal organization wields immense power across numerous galaxies, with a vast empire that includes casinos, estates, and spice smuggling operations within Corellia itself. To cross them is to risk vanishing without a trace, along with one's entire family, with no one daring to inquire about their fate. Tang Xiao remains indifferent to the fearful glances cast in his direction, accustomed to such reactions. You know, big brother, I really don't enjoy coming here to meet Mrs. Bixie, Dryden Voss remarks as they walk. It's too grimy and chaotic for my taste. I'd much rather be lounging on a yacht, sipping a drink. But as you're aware, Mrs. Bixie and the people of Greendale, they're not exactly free to move about, and the White Worm's operations are confined to places like this. Tang Xiao offers a nonchalant response, his attention primarily focused on their surroundings. Despite having spent over a decade in this world, his ventures into the bustling streets have been few and far between. Although Dawn Planet boasts numerous shopping destinations, its cities and streets still bear a strong resemblance to Earth, starkly different from the locales they currently traverse. It's in places like Corellia's underworld, the smuggler's moon of Narsada, and the underbelly of Coruscant, where the true nature of this twisted world is laid bare. Here, the marvels of advanced industrial technology exist side by side with chaotic, impoverished streets, highlighting the stark contrast between the universe-traversing elite and the destitute masses at the bottom of the social hierarchy. The plight of these individuals, reminiscent of 21st century Earth's slums, serves as a grim reminder that technological advancement has not alleviated their suffering, but has instead exacerbated their oppression and exploitation. The chasm between the wealthy and the powerless is so vast that any notion of upward mobility is nothing short of a cruel joke. Tang Xiao approached the entrance of an underground establishment, and as the door swung open, he was greeted by a potent fragrance. It was unmistakably a luxurious perfume, generously used as an air freshener, yet it barely masked the underlying odors. Navigating through a lengthy corridor and passing 3 security checkpoints, Tang Xiao found himself stepping into a surreal and extraordinary setting as the final door opened. Almost immediately, he was enveloped by a whirlwind of delicate and vibrant figures. A fragrant breeze accompanied them, and they encircled Tang Xiao, pressing close without laying a single hand on him. Instead, they used their slender bodies to twist and sway against him. Their movements were serpentine, almost rhythmic, as if dancing to an unheard melody. Adorned with bells and metallic ornaments, their bodies jingled melodically with every collision. What added to the spectacle was their attire, or the lack thereof. Clad in nothing but veils, their silhouettes hinted at voluptuous curves and slender waists, the interplay of shadows and light, rendering it nearly impossible to discern the origin of each enticing contour. After a moment, the figures gracefully dispersed, continuing to gyrate their hips tantalizingly a short distance from Tang Xiao. They showcased their allure with precision, striking a balance that kindled the deepest desires only to retreat at the peak of longing, leaving an insatiable yearning in their wake. Tang Xiao merely smiled, his demeanor unaltered. It wasn't that he lacked desire, but rather, such attempts at seduction were almost juvenile to someone of his stature, a Sith Lord. The repetition of his journey through the corridor and the subsequent encounter seemed to underscore the surreal nature of the experience, yet Tang Xiao's reaction remained the same. Unmoved by the spectacle, his smile hinted at an inner amusement, a testament to his immunity to such base forms of temptation. Vol 2, Chapter 1154, Journey to Corellia, Part 2. During his trip to Corellia, Tang Xiao enjoyed the company of many beauties, but kept the conversation light, mainly discussing business matters with Mrs. Pixie and Dryden Voss. These two, despite their appearances as mere gangsters, were in fact part of the peripheral forces of the Fourth Civilization. Whether they acknowledged it or not, they were essentially serving the interests of the Fourth Civilization. To sustain the exorbitant costs of war, the Fourth Civilization resorted to unscrupulous methods, including the establishment of numerous gangs. These gangs capitalized on the war's aftermath, engaging in the slave trade with prisoners and refugees, smuggling spices from occupied production bases, and exploiting the lawlessness of Hutt space to venture into mercenary services, bounty hunting, and arms trading. The arms trade, in particular, was Yuri Orlov's domain. Although he had ostensibly left the Fourth Civilization, he often found himself indirectly serving their interests, albeit with greater autonomy. The crux of expanding his arms business lay in securing a reliable and affordable supply of weapons. This led him back to the arms factories of the Fourth Civilization, which supplied him with weapons and equipment repaired or replaced from the battlefield. These were then sold across the galaxy, with Orlov's market, though somewhat limited, spanning a considerable range. Furthermore, through connections with Mrs. Pixie and Dryden Voss, Orlov acquired weapons and spaceships from the Corellian galaxy, which he then sold to the Outer Rim. Given that these Corellian products were not marketable locally, this arrangement benefited all parties involved. As a result, Yuri Orlov became a well-known figure in the galaxy's underworld, his reputation intertwined with the Fourth Civilization and the Corellia Engineering Company. Spice smuggling represented another lucrative, albeit illegal, venture. However, in a galaxy where corporate giants wielded significant influence, legality was a flexible concept. Various forces, including the Galactic Republic itself, were involved in the spice trade, driven by immense profits. In this commercialized world, moral standards were often compromised. The Ni Yongxiao gang, affiliated with the Fourth Civilization, operated primarily in the middle and outer rings, while Dryden Voss focused on selling high-grade spices like diesel bark and Emmanuel to the inner circles, outperforming Tang Xiao in terms of sales. The slave trade was managed by Mrs. Pixie's organization, the White Worms. Following battles, whether won by the Fourth Civilization or the Confederation of Independent Galaxies, a large number of refugees and prisoners were captured and sold as slaves. Among these, Queen Ziglia and several Hutt families dominated the market. However, Mrs. Pixie carved out her niche by specializing in high-quality female slaves. These women were not only sold for their beauty but also for their talents, martial skills, and various other abilities. They could be trained as entertainers, bodyguards, secretaries, and more, with the simplest transactions involving those without any particular skills. Through this specialization, Mrs. Pixie's slave business thrived, distinguishing itself in a market dominated by more established players. Despite its modest scale, the operation boasted significant profits. This was especially true for the ancillary activities it spawned, such as smuggling, intelligence gathering, and assassination. Tang Xiao, Mrs. Pixie, Dryden Voss, and others were deep in discussion about these matters. Throughout the conversation, a bevy of beautiful female slaves attended to Tang Xiao, their touches gentle and their movements seductive. They served him exotic fruits and drinks, their bodies weaving gracefully around him in dance. Yet, Tang Xiao remained unfazed by the distractions, fully engaged in the discussion and maintaining a clear focus. After several rounds of drinks, Tang Xiao signaled for the female slaves to leave. Mrs. Pixie promptly ordered them away and had her bodyguards secure the area, activating an electromagnetic barrier to ensure privacy. She realized that Tang Xiao must have a matter of great importance to discuss if he was interrupting the festivities. "Lord Governor, what guidance do you seek?" Mrs. Pixie asked, positioning herself at eye level with Tang Xiao in the pool, her tone respectful. "I have a significant opportunity for you," Tang Xiao replied with a smile. "Oh, I'm always interested in lucrative opportunities. But how can Scarlet Dawn collaborate with us? Our fields of operation are quite different," Mrs. Pixie inquired, curiosity piqued. Dryden Voss, unable to contain his excitement, laughed heartily and said, "Our brother mentioned he had a surprise for us. If we're joining forces, then this must be no small matter." He eagerly poured himself another glass of wine, drinking it in one gulp before slamming the bottle down on the table. "So, what's this big deal you're proposing?" "A truly grand venture," Tang Xiao began. "If successful, it could elevate us to the political elite of the Corellia galaxy. Alternatively, it could solidify our status as the undisputed rulers of its underworld." Dryden Voss's eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Politics doesn't interest me, but ruling the underworld of Corellia? That's intriguing." "It might even surpass your expectations," Tang Xiao hinted, capturing their full attention. "I'm all ears," Mrs. Pixie exclaimed, her interest clearly piqued. "Let me share a story with you, a myth to be precise," Tang Xiao said, leaning back comfortably. "It concerns the origins of the Corellian galaxy. First, it's important to understand that this legend is rooted in truth. Corellia is indeed an artificial galaxy. Please note, this narrative is hosted on the Apex Novel Network, the premier destination for the latest updates in mobile reading. Vol 2, Chapter 1155, Corellian Myth. "You mean 5 brothers?" Dryden Voss asked, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Yes, the Corellian system, 100,000 years ago, consisted of only 2 outermost planets, Corellia and Saronia. The inner orbit was filled with small planetary belts and nebulae. It was originally a barren galaxy, devoid of habitable planets and life," Tang Xiao explained. "Wait a minute, are you recounting a story or are you presenting—" "Reality," Drydenworth interjected. "If it's a story, we've heard many versions, some even more fantastical. But if this is reality, then it's astonishing," he added, his voice tinged with disbelief. "What I'm sharing is both a story and reality," Tang Xiao clarified. "It's a story because the relevant documentation has largely been lost, leaving only legends behind. It's reality because it actually happened." 5 brothers created by artificial means? Dryden Voss couldn't hide his skepticism. Is that even possible? Indeed, it is true. The Killik hives achieved what could only be described as a miracle, Tang Xiao said, deliberately omitting some of the most mysterious and crucial aspects of the event, and focusing on the Killik hives. They were active in the galaxy 100,000 years ago and became the most powerful and advanced race. However, they were decimated by a massive catastrophe around 35,000 years ago. It's difficult to fully grasp the extent of their civilization at its peak. Their technology and civilization were highly advanced in some areas, far beyond our current capabilities, yet primitive in others. But one fact underscores their might. Tang Xiao casually opened a star map and pointed to one of the planets. Alderaan was once their parent nest. The term parent nest is used instead of mother nest because in the Killik society, a small number of males were responsible for the reproduction of the entire swarm through insemination. On Alderaan, remnants of the Killik civilization have been unearthed continuously. Despite 35,000 years of weathering, these remains have turned to dust, yet their shells remain as hard and lustrous as ever. Even ordinary blaster shots, the less powerful ones, can't leave a mark on these casings. So, was it this great Killik swarm that created the Corellian system? Mrs. Bixby asked, her interest piqued. As a member of the Grindali, an insectoid race, she was naturally fascinated by such a legend. Tang Xiao nodded. Exactly. They engineered a powerful device that emitted strong gravitational waves, pulling Corellia, Delar, Salonia, and the twin planets Talus and Tralis from another system to form the 7-planet Corellian system we know today. However, to accomplish this, they had to first reinforce these planets and construct receiving devices. Without these preparations, the gravitational pull would have caused the planets to reach the Roche limit and disintegrate. This device could also be considered one of the most terrifying weapons in existence. Are you suggesting that a device capable of moving planets actually exists? Dryden Voss asked, his voice filled with wonder, as if he were hearing a fairy tale. Tang Xiao nodded affirmatively. In the Corellian system, Orbit 1 is planet Corellia, Orbit 2 is planet Delar, Orbit 3 is planet Salonia, and Orbit 4 houses the twin planets Talus and Tralis. These two planets are in close proximity, positioned at the Lagrangian point of each other, achieving a dynamic balance with identical orbits and revolution periods. This precise arrangement of the twin planets is one of the strongest pieces of evidence supporting the theory that the Corellian system was artificially created. It's hard to believe such a precise configuration could occur naturally. Mrs. Pixie, who had lived for hundreds of years, nodded in agreement, her vast knowledge affirming the plausibility of Tang Xiao's tale. Tang Xiao smiled slightly, ready to continue the story. The device is located at the Lagrangian point between the twin planets Talus and Tralis. These two planets act as guardians, shielding the device. In the event of a war, any attempt to damage this device would first have to overcome the formidable joint defenses of these twin planets. The planetary shields and orbital defense systems could repel hundreds, if not thousands of troops, explained Tang Xiao. Wait, are you referring to Centerpoint? Dryden Voss interjected, his interest piqued. Indeed, that artifact is shrouded in mystery. Scientists from Corellia have previously delved into its secrets. However, it was concluded to be nothing more than a colossal, abandoned space station. Research interest waned over time, and it has since been repurposed by some who've established a settlement within its confines. The midpoint station? Yes, it's now a relic accessible to all. Anyone can visit it, Mrs. Pixie added. Within its central sphere, a faint, semi-permanent energy source still powers the light and gravity generators. This has allowed for the creation of Hollowtown, where the light source serves as the town's sun, enabling the cultivation of crops due to the constant temperature and light. Beyond that, the midpoint station offers no functional utilities. Tang Xiao responded with a sardonic smile. Regrettably, the moment the midpoint station begins its warming process, Hollowtown and its inhabitants will be obliterated instantly, without any suffering. Preheating? The midpoint station can still be activated? Is it operational? Dryden Voss exclaimed, disbelief coloring his tone. Yes, the midpoint station can be activated at any moment. Once operational, it could manipulate the gravitational waves to move every planet in at least half of the galaxy, including the Corellia galaxy. These planets would then reach the Roche limit and disintegrate. And the most ironic part, Tang Xiao said, a chilling smile forming, is that Coruscant, the capital of the Galactic Republic, falls within the Midpoint Station's range. Dryden Voss stood abruptly, shaking his head in denial. No, 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 this is beyond our capabilities. If this is true, activating such a device would turn the entire galaxy against us. We're merely slave traders and spice smugglers, Lord Governor. Presenting us with a device capable of controlling the galaxy's fate is beyond our aspirations, Mrs. Pixie concurred. Dryden Voss is correct. This is not something we should meddle with. Even you, Lord Governor, should reconsider, as not even the planet Dawn could withstand the consequences. Please note, this narrative has been refined for clarity and coherence, ensuring a more engaging and understandable read. Vol 2, Chapter 156, Sikoria, Part 1. Tang Xiao offered a light smile. Did you really think I was relying on you to seize control of the Midpoint Station? Even if I disregard your lives, I must consider the repercussions of your failure and how it might implicate me. Big brother, this venture is immensely vast, so vast that it's beyond our wildest dreams. Perhaps we should call back those entertainers and stick to our music and dances? Drydenworth's voice quivered with fear. The myth Tang Xiao had spun might sound like a mere fairy tale to the average person, a fantastical story to muse over after dinner upon hearing about the grandeur and might of ancient civilizations. However, Drydenworth and Mrs. Pixie were far from average. As underworld kingpins, they had access to realms beyond the reach of ordinary people, making the tale's implications far more significant and terrifying to them. It was precisely because they could grasp its reality that they couldn't simply laugh it off like others. Chuckling, Tang Xiao said, "With such a lucrative opportunity before you, how can you still be preoccupied with trivial pleasures?" He seemed to be in high spirits, pouring himself a full glass of wine and drinking it in one gulp. "Big brother, if we've done anything to displease you, please tell us directly. I'll make amends, even if it means going bankrupt. But the Midpoint Station is a line we truly cannot cross. Engaging with it would not only draw the ire of the Galactic Republic, but also attract the attention of both the Jedi Order and the Sith Lord." Dryden Voss was genuinely terrified, viewing Tang Xiao as if he were a monster. If anyone had suggested just a short while ago that Tang Xiao had become more amiable and approachable, Dryden Voss would now vehemently refute such claims. Approachable? That was merely a facade. Beneath the surface, Tang Xiao's ambitions were as audacious and reckless as ever. Turning to face him, Tang Xiao's smile took on a sinister edge. "Oh, am I not akin to a Sith Lord in your eyes?" Dryden Voss stumbled, nearly falling over. At a loss for words, he shakily reached for his glass, only to spill its contents all over himself. Tang Xiao waved dismissively. "Don't overthink it. Of course I wouldn't directly involve you in this. The launch and control of the Midpoint Station will have far-reaching consequences, more significant than you can imagine. In fact, Corellia hasn't abandoned their research on the station. It's precisely because they've made some progress that they've led others to believe they've ceased their efforts." "Are you suggesting these are merely diversions?" Mrs. Pixie inquired. "From what I understand, they've only discovered that the Midpoint Station is still operational. However, they're unaware of its true capabilities. They believe that activating such a colossal space station, measuring 350 kilometers in length and 110 kilometers at its thickest point, would yield a formidable asset," Tang Xiao explained. "And who might they be? The Corellia Engineering Company?" Mrs. Pixie pressed. Tang Xiao shook his head. "The Corellia Engineering Company isn't interested in chasing myths. Business entities seek profit and are willing to take risks, but they're also inherently cautious. They'll back down if they perceive the potential returns as insufficient." "Then who is it?" Dryden Voss asked. "It's no secret," Tang Xiao replied with a sly grin. "The planet Sikoria." Mrs. Pixie quickly provided details on Sikoria. It's one of the planets in the Corellian corridor, boasting a population of about 600 million. Its economy is highly developed, primarily focused on exports. Weapons, electronic products, and luxury goods are abundant on this planet. However, its laws are incredibly strict, with an almost dictatorial internal management. Externally, it falls directly under the command of the Diktat in the Corellia region, making it politically a puppet and a vassal. "Yes, that's the planet," Tang Xiao confirmed. But now, Dupas Tamri, the current leader in the Relia region, clearly lacks the capability to truly sway Cori. This is especially true for the galaxies in the Lea corridor, including a developed planet like Sikoria. The so-called diktat refers to the governor's office, the administrative system of the Corellia region following the monarchy's abolition. This system places a president at its helm, wielding centralized power, though not to an extreme degree. The term of a diktat is theoretically perpetual, but every 20 years, the Corellian Assembly votes to decide if the incumbent diktat is eligible for re-election. Should a diktat die in office, a pre-designated heir, either a relative or an advisor, known as a protat, meaning temporary office, would succeed them. To simplify future references and avoid confusion with foreign names, the rulers of Corellia will henceforth be collectively referred to as the Governor-General and the temporary office. Dupas Samari is inept, particularly noticeable when he assumed office and discovered the outbreak of war, choosing to bury his head in the sand, Dryden Voss remarked. Of course, for someone like me, this situation facilitates my operations. You're suggesting that the planet Sikoria has its sights set on the midpoint station? Mrs. Bixby inquired. Sikoria, being a colony in the Corellian galaxy without native inhabitants, is primarily populated by the three major races of the Lilia galaxy, humans, Dalarians, and Selonius. Thus, its relationship with the Corellian planet should be quite close. Indeed, any planet might covet the midpoint, but Sikoria seems an unlikely candidate, Drydenworth added. Tang Xiao, swirling the crystal wine glass in his hand, proposed thoughtfully, but what if Sikoria's aim is to champion the interests of the entire Corellia region? What if Sikoria's goal is to secure independence for the Corellia region from the Galactic Republic? The mere suggestion caused a sudden shift in the expressions of Drydenworth and Mrs. Bixby. Note, Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter featuring Dryden Voss and Mrs. Pixie will not be posted again as it was deemed somewhat distasteful. It has been shared previously. Please remember the first domain name of this book. For the fastest updates, visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile version website. Vol 2, Chapter 1157, Sikoria, Part 2. Dryden Voss slowly sat down, a look of contemplation crossing his face. Planet Sikoria. Who governs it? I can't recall ever hearing about it. He furrowed his brow, lost in thought for a moment, before shaking his head in resignation. I must admit, I don't usually keep track of such details. When he shared his speculation with the doctor, the response was one of confusion and surprise, leading to a recommendation to visit the psychiatry department downstairs. Ultimately, the hospital was unable to diagnose the cause of his condition. It was only after his mother procured a special medication from abroad that his symptoms were managed. As long as he adhered to the medication schedule, he could avoid the episodes. It must be due to the lack of rest last night. I was too exhausted. Zhang Yuyi is to blame. He insisted on playing games in my room until the early hours. Despite his words, Zhang Yuanqing felt a growing concern. He knew the medication's effectiveness was diminishing and his condition was worsening. I'll have to increase the dosage, he decided. Slipping into cotton slippers, Zhang Yuanqing approached the window and briskly drew back the curtain. Sunlight flooded the room, heralding a bright April morning in Songhai City. The cool, refreshing breeze was a pleasant start to the day. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts, followed by his grandmother's voice. Yuanqing, wake up! I'm not getting up, Zhang Yuanqing stubbornly replied, longing to return to his slumber. The allure of sleeping in on a bright spring weekend was too tempting. You have 3 minutes, or I'm coming in, his grandmother threatened, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. I know, Zhang Yuanqing quickly conceded, well aware of his grandmother's determination. After his father's tragic death in a car accident during his elementary school years, his resilient mother chose not to remarry. Instead, she returned to Songhai with her son, entrusting his upbringing to his grandparents while she immersed herself in her career, earning the admiration of her family. Despite his mother purchasing a house, Zhang Yuanqing preferred the warmth of his grandparents' home. His mother's busy schedule meant she was rarely home, leaving him to appreciate the financial support she could provide, though he often reassured her that his grandmother and aunt's allowances were sufficient. Speaking of his aunt, she was the very person who had disrupted his sleep the previous night with her late-night gaming. Yawning, Zhang Yuanqing opened his bedroom door and stepped into the living room. The spacious apartment, boasting 150 square meters and including a communal pool, had appreciated significantly in value over the years, thanks to his grandfather's foresight. Now, as an adult, Zhang Yuanqing appreciated having his own space, separate from his aunt. At the dining table, the very cause of his headache was noisily enjoying her porridge. Her pink slippers dangled playfully under the table. Her features were delicate and beautiful, with a sweet, round face and a distinctive mole near her right eye. Her disheveled hair added a touch of laziness and allure to her appearance. This was his aunt, a constant presence in his life, and occasionally a source of mild irritation. Zhang Yuyi, who is 4 years older than him, watched as Zhang Yuanqing emerged from his room. Wiping porridge from the corner of her mouth, she expressed her surprise. "Oh, it's unlike you to be up so early." "It's all thanks to your stellar parenting," Zhang Yuanqing retorted with a hint of sarcasm. "How can you speak to someone like that?" she chided, though her tone was more playful than offended. "I'm merely stating the facts," Zhang Yuanqing replied, his gaze lingering on his aunt's vibrant face. Despite the common belief that staying up late results in dark circles, this rule didn't seem to apply to her. She was radiant, her energy infectious. The sound of their conversation drew the attention of the grandmother from the kitchen. She peeked out, her gaze sharp, before emerging with a bowl of porridge. Her hair, a mix of black and silver, framed a face that hinted at a once striking beauty, now softened by age. Accepting the porridge from his grandmother, Zhang Yuanqing took a hearty sip before inquiring, "Where's Grandpa?" "Out for his morning walk," she replied. His grandfather, a retired criminal policeman, adhered to a strict routine, embodying discipline even in his old age. The conversation took a lighter turn when his aunt, still enjoying her breakfast, offered, "After we eat, I'll take you shopping for some new clothes." "Are you really being so generous?" Zhang Yuanqing was about to accept when he caught a stern look from his grandmother, her gaze sharp enough to silence any agreement. "If you dare go, I'll break your legs," she threatened, half joking yet entirely serious. "Mom, why must you be so harsh?" his aunt protested, her disappointment evident. "I just wanted to buy Yuanzi some spring clothes. Is that so wrong? Despite the distance, he's still family." The grandmother remained unmoved, her stance firm. "You want your legs broken too?" Defeated, his aunt returned to her porridge, her plans thwarted. Zhang Yuanqing couldn't help but smile at the familiar banter. It was clear his grandmother had other plans, likely involving another attempt at arranging a blind date for his aunt. His aunt, ever the free spirit, had hoped to involve him in her schemes, much to their grandmother's disapproval. Vol 2, Chapter 1158, Life, 2-in-1. Chapter 1158. Are you suggesting we have the control centers of the 5 planets power the midpoint station? But if we do that, we'll only have one shot, correct? Mrs. Pixie inquired, her brow furrowed in thought. The midpoint station must be capable of operating autonomously. Otherwise, it wouldn't be feasible in the first place. We can't possibly move these 5 planets to Corellia. Tang Xiao nodded in agreement. Exactly. The midpoint station is designed to function independently, but it's not in that state at the moment. It has been adrift in space for over 100,000 years, with its energy core, the light point, sustaining the gravity system and basic life support. That it has managed to do so is nothing short of miraculous. However, to fully restore it, we need to activate the light point, using the energy stored in the control systems of those 5 planets. Brother, you mentioned before, this midpoint station was constructed by the Killik swarm, but how could a species capable of creating such a formidable weapon suddenly vanish, leaving scarcely any records behind? Dryden Voss asked, his curiosity piqued. Tang Xiao gave him a brief glance, his expression unreadable. It's better not to delve too deeply into certain matters. All you need to know is that the Killik swarm built the midpoint station. That's sufficient. He then turned back to Mrs. Pixie, his demeanor shifting to one of determination. We need to start planning our approach to Secoria from the opposite direction. Our first step is to locate and analyze the midpoint station. Once we activate the three giants of Sikoria and position ourselves at the midpoint, controlling at least one planet's control center will give us the leverage and the ace up our sleeve to achieve our goals. If we succeed, you will become a key figure in the independent Corellia region. How much time do we have to execute this plan? Mrs. Pixie asked, now seemingly convinced. At least 30 years, Tang Xiao responded. 30 years? Are you joking? I'll be 70 by then. Dryden Voss exclaimed, throwing his hands up in disbelief. Tang Xiao smiled, unfazed. It's indeed more than 30 years, but that's assuming we don't intervene. You must understand that the Corellian region is currently very stable politically, sharing common enemies and interests with the Galactic Republic. They lack the foundation for independence. On the other hand, Sikoria merely has the ambition. They're unaware of what could aid their plan, and they certainly don't know about the midpoint. It sounds like you can see the future, Mrs. Pixie remarked. If I hadn't seen the future, I wouldn't have sought you out, Tang Xiao replied, his voice carrying a hint of mystery. Indeed, I've glimpsed Corellia's future in the vast currents of the Force. And in this future you've seen, what happens? Mrs. Pixie pressed further. The big three of Sikoria fail, the midpoint station is seized, and the Corellia region fails to gain independence, Tang Xiao revealed. A future of failure. That sounds rather grim, Dryden Voss commented, his brow furrowing. True, even with the midpoint station, the big three of Sikoria still meet failure. I won't deny it. If my intention was merely to deceive you into joining this venture, I wouldn't have disclosed that. But remember, we have more than 30 years to prepare, Tang Xiao explained. Mrs. Pixie seemed to fully embrace Tang Xiao's vision. With over 30 years, we could even train a generation of specialists for this plan, right from their childhood. Haha. Don't tell me you think you'll only live another 7 or 8 years, Dryden Voss. I know how much you fear death. Dryden Voss was contemplating a different aspect. Since you say the political situation in Corellia is very stable now, does that mean it will become unstable in 30 years? It won't take 30 years for Corellia to descend into chaos, Tang Xiao said, a mysterious smile playing on his lips. The Galactic Republic has at most 2 years left. Dryden V. Voss's eyes sparkled with anticipation, and a sinister smile crept across his face. The Galactic Republic, with only 2 years remaining. Perhaps even less than 2 years. Tang Xiao mused, swirling his glass thoughtfully. De Laden Wall erupted into laughter, his voice echoing through the room as he clutched a bottle of wine. The Galaxy Republic has less than 2 years left? He exclaimed, his amusement palpable. With a swift motion, he clinked his bottle against Tang Xiao's, then tilted his head back, gulping down the wine with fervor. This is the biggest surprise today. Mrs. Pixie, equally thrilled, writhed in her pool. Bring me all the slave girls. Let's celebrate with dance and drink. Ha! She declared, her excitement uncontainable. To the Republic, for its last 2 years, Tang Xiao declared, seizing a bottle of wine himself. Done! Ha! They chorused, their laughter filling the air. Tang Xiao stood on the balcony, gazing into the night that enveloped the Corellia neighborhood, his mind heavy with thoughts. Dryden Voss, having indulged excessively in drink, had retired to his room with several female slaves, though Tang Xiao suspected sleep would be the only activity pursued. Mrs. Pixie had also retreated, her sobriety intact thanks to the Grindali's unique physiology, boasting 7 sets of organs capable of neutralizing toxins, a trait evolved from their dark, damp habitats. Satisfied with the evening's outcomes and dreaming of dominating Corellia's underworld, Mrs. Pixie had gone to bed. Indeed, possessing a powerful weapon and orchestrating events from the shadows with someone else as the figurehead and 30 years of meticulous planning was a flawless strategy. 30 years might seem excessive to some, but it signified a generational leap ahead of competitors. Tang Xiao, however, couldn't afford to wait 30 years, a detail he kept from Dryden Voss and Mrs. Pixie. The political landscape of the Corellian region was already shifting with the establishment of the Galactic Empire, making it ripe for his plans. Utilizing the local influence of these 2 gang leaders, Tang Xiao could execute his operations discreetly and efficiently. Their loyalty was of secondary importance. He was well aware that they would abandon ship at the first sign of trouble, provided they didn't betray him first. Yet, establishing good relations was beneficial. The Fourth Civilization's influence in the Galactic Republic's core territories, like Corellia, was minimal. Without the connections to these underworld figures, Tang Xiao's plans would lack feasibility. Dryden Voss's Scarlet Dawn and Mrs. Pixie's White Worm were merely pieces in a larger scheme centered around the midpoint station. Tang Xiao intended to sow more seeds in the Corellia galaxy, ensuring a network of allies ready for when the station became operational. And then there was Darth Maul. The Sith Lord, presumed dead, was plotting his return, inevitably crossing paths with Scarlet Dawn. Tang Xiao planned to ensnare Darth Maul in the complexities of Corellia's underworld, leveraging his presence for his own ends. Darth Maul's reaction upon discovering the galaxy's chaos and considering his abandonment by Darth Sidious and the rise of Darth Marthael intrigued Tang Xiao. He looked towards the sky, towards the direction of the midpoint station, his gaze as resolute as his determination. He understood his mission and the necessity of Corellia's independence to survive the overwhelming might of the Galactic Republic and the impending Galactic Empire. Another night without sleep beckoned. Tang Xiao pondered briefly before leaping from the balcony, wandering the streets aimlessly in the early hours, lost in thought about the future that awaited. In the depths of the night, the streets were still bustling with activity. Unlike the daytime crowd, those who roamed the streets now were mostly gang members, homeless individuals, prostitutes, and drunks. Since his time on the planet Dagobah, where he had used the dark Ra Epper to absorb the violent dark side force within himself, Tang Xiao had grown to enjoy this rare and relaxed sensation. It was the feeling of being just another face in the crowd, an ordinary pedestrian, a feeling of being human. Suddenly, Tang Xiao felt a slight tremor in the force, a subtle indication that someone was plotting against him, though the threat seemed minimal. A smirk played at the corner of his mouth as he extended an invisible wave of the force in the direction of the disturbance. "See that person over there, Han?" A young female voice whispered from a shadowed corner, her words reaching Tang Xiao clearly through the force. "That guy who's been walking down the street with a smile on his face. Look at his clothes. He must be wealthy." Tang Xiao's smirk widened slightly. To be accused of smirking simply for being in a good mood was amusing to him. After spending so much time in positions of power, where life and wealth were mere numbers, and a wave of his hand could crack planets and shake galaxies, he had begun to overlook the most essential aspects of life itself. He remained silent, continuing his leisurely stroll, though the force had already pinpointed the source of the voices. "I always feel a little dangerous, Chila. Anyone daring to wander the Corellia neighborhood at this hour is no ordinary person." Another voice, this one male, reached Tang Xiao's ears. He frowned slightly upon catching the name, then smiled intriguingly. Was this a coincidence or the will of the Force? Either way, things were about to get interesting. "It's fine. Look at him. He's clearly not from around here. Once we succeed, we'll dash into the alley. Even if he calls the police, they won't find us. See his waist? There's a bulge there. Probably a wallet," the female voice strategized. "As usual, you distract him, and I'll make the move," she added. "Okay, after this, our savings might double," the boy said with a hint of excitement. "Forget your 50 credit deposit. We're looking at least 1,000 credits today," the girl countered. "No, it's 53 credits now. I helped Telk this afternoon with a delivery. He gave me 5 credits, and then I spent 2 on a roasted lizard leg, remember?" The boy corrected her. Their conversation continued, revealing their desperate circumstances and the harsh realities of life in Corellia. Tang Xiao listened, his interest piqued, as he sensed the two figures stealthily approaching him from the shadows. Suddenly, one of them burst from a side alley. It was a boy, no more than 10 years old, clutching a bag. He crashed into Tang Xiao's arms, panic written all over his face. "Sir, save me! I stole something, and they're after me!" he exclaimed, thrusting the heavy package into Tang Xiao's hands. In that moment, Tang Xiao realized the complexity of the situation unfolding around him. As another figure dashed from behind with remarkable agility, he skillfully sliced off the entire pocket from his waist, snatched it, and fled. Meanwhile, The boy who had initially approached had already disappeared, leaving only the bag in Tang Xiao's grasp. Their coordination was impeccable. The boy drew attention by presenting the bag as a stolen item, sparking greed, while his accomplice seized the moment to commit theft. Tang Xiao couldn't help but smile slightly at the cleverness of their tactic. Note 1. In the images of Dryden Voss shared in previous chapters, you might have noticed the waiter on the left. The top half of her head is completely missing, replaced by a mechanical controller. This represents one of the most severe punishments inflicted upon slaves. Note 2. I've decided to incorporate the new official storyline for Han Solo, specifically his adventures with Kira. I assure you, my choice is not solely influenced by my admiration for the Dragon Mother. Please bookmark this book's primary domain for the latest updates. Visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile site for the fastest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 1159, Kira and Solo, Part 1. Tang Xiao stood motionless, slowly opening the large bag that the boy had handed him earlier. Inside, he discovered a bundle of rags concealing some stones. No wonder it felt so heavy. He surmised that the two youngsters must have planned this, considering the weight they managed to carry. When he shared his theory with the doctor, the latter admitted his confusion but was visibly shocked and recommended a visit to the psychiatry department downstairs. Ultimately, the hospital was unable to diagnose the issue. It was only after his mother procured a special medication from abroad that his condition stabilized. As long as he took the medicine regularly, he wouldn't suffer any episodes. It must be because I didn't get enough rest last night. I was too tired. It's all Jiang Yuyi's fault for insisting on playing games in my room until late, he muttered, though deep down he felt a growing concern. Zhang Yuanqing was aware that the medication's effectiveness was diminishing, and his condition was worsening. I'll have to increase the dosage, he decided. Slipping into cotton slippers, Zhang Yuanqing walked over to the window and briskly drew the curtains. Sunlight flooded the room, illuminating the space with the bright, comforting glow of an April morning in Songhai City. The cool, refreshing breeze was a welcome sensation. Suddenly, a knock at the door interrupted his thoughts, followed by his grandmother's voice. "Motoko, wake up!" "I can't get up," Zhang Yuanqing stubbornly replied, yearning to return to his slumber. The allure of sleeping in on a bright spring weekend was too tempting to resist. "Give you 3 minutes, or I'm coming in to wake you up," his grandmother threatened, her tone even more determined. I know, Zhang Yuanqing quickly conceded, knowing all too well that his grandmother meant business. Ever since his father's tragic death in a car accident during his elementary school years, his resilient mother chose not to remarry. Instead, she moved back to Songhai with her son, entrusting his care to his grandparents while she immersed herself in her career, earning the admiration of her relatives. Despite his mother purchasing a house, Zhang Yuanqing preferred the warmth of his grandparents' home. His mother's busy schedule meant she was rarely around, often leaving on business trips or working late. On weekends, she would order takeout instead of cooking. Her most frequent question to him was whether he had enough money, always ready to provide more if needed. Zhang Yuanqing, however, would always assure her that the allowance from his grandmother and aunt was sufficient. Speaking of his aunt, she was the very person who had disrupted his sleep the previous night with her gaming. Yawning, Zhang Yuanqing opened his bedroom door and stepped into the living room of his grandmother's spacious 150-square-meter house, which included a communal pool. He remembered the house's price per square meter skyrocketing from $40,000 to $110,000 over the past 6 or 7 years, nearly doubling in value thanks to his grandfather's foresight. Now that he was older, sharing a room with his aunt was no longer appropriate. At the dining table, the very cause of his headache was slurping porridge noisily, her pink slippers dangling playfully under the table. Her features were delicate and beautiful, with a sweet, round, oval face and a distinctive tear mole at the corner of her right eye. Her messy, wavy hair framed her face, adding to her just-awoken charm. Zhang Yuanqing's aunt, Jiang Yuyi, who is 4 years his senior, greeted him with a surprise as he emerged early in the morning. "Yo, it's not like you to be up so early." "Blame your mother for that," Zhang Yuanqing retorted. How can you speak ill of people like that? She chided, though her tone was light and teasing. I'm merely stating the facts, Zhang Yuanqing replied, his gaze lingering on his aunt's radiant face. Despite the common belief that staying up late results in dark circles, Zhang Yuyi seemed immune to this rule, her beauty undiminished by the night's endeavors. Their conversation caught the attention of the grandmother, who soon appeared from the kitchen with a bowl of porridge. Her hair, a mix of black and silver, framed a face that, despite its age, retained hints of its former grace. Her sharp eyes and stern demeanor hinted at a no-nonsense personality, but the wrinkles and softening skin spoke of years gone by. Accepting the porridge from his grandmother, Zhang Yuanqing inquired about his grandfather, learning he had gone for his morning walk. His grandfather, a retired criminal policeman, adhered to a strict routine, embodying discipline even in his advanced years. As they enjoyed their breakfast, Zhang Yuyi, with a smile, offered to take Zhang Yuanqing shopping for clothes. His initial inclination to accept was quickly quashed by a stern look from his grandmother, who threatened, "If you dare to go, I'll break your legs." "Why must you react so harshly, Mom?" Zhang Yu protested, her tone a mix of jest and disappointment. "I simply wish to buy Yuanzi some new clothes for spring. Is that so wrong?" The grandmother, unmoved by her daughter's plea, retorted with equal severity, hinting at a similar fate for Zhang Yuyi should she persist. Deflated, Zhang Yuyi returned to her porridge, while Zhang Yuanqing, observing the exchange, understood the underlying dynamics. His grandmother was likely arranging another blind date for his aunt, who, in her typical fashion, sought to involve him in her schemes to disrupt the plans. Vol 2, Chapter 1160, Kira and Solo, Part 2. Kira's scream pierced the silence as she witnessed a blood-red plasma blade erupting from the dark lightsaber in her grasp. The sinister hue painted everything in its vicinity a ghastly crimson, mirroring the turmoil within her. Meanwhile, Han shared his concerns with the doctor, suspecting something amiss with his health. The doctor, baffled and alarmed, suggested a visit to the psychiatry department, admitting the hospital was at a loss. Eventually, a special medicine from abroad, brought by his mother, managed to control his condition, requiring regular intake to prevent episodes. Attributing his recent malaise to lack of rest, Zhang Yuanqing blamed his cousin Zhang Yuyi for insisting on late-night gaming sessions. Despite his outward complaints, Zhang was inwardly troubled, aware that his condition was worsening as the medicine's efficacy waned. Resolving to increase his dosage, he opened his curtains to let the spring sunlight of Songhai City flood his room, the cool morning breeze a welcome comfort. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts, with his grandmother calling him to wake. Zhang's initial refusal, desiring to relish the weekend's sleep, was quickly overturned by his grandmother's stern warning. Having lost his father at a young age, Zhang was raised by his strong-willed mother and grandparents in Songhai. His mother, a career-driven woman, provided financially but was often absent, leaving Zhang in the care of his grandparents. Zhang preferred living with his grandparents over the empty apartment his mother bought, finding solace in the familiarity and warmth of their home. Despite his mother's financial support, Zhang found contentment in the simpler joys provided by his grandmother and aunt. Emerging from his room, Zhang entered the living room of his grandmother's spacious apartment, reminiscing about the property's appreciation over the years thanks to his grandfather's foresight. The dining table hosted the source of his headache, his aunt Zhang Yuyi, indulging in her breakfast. Her beauty, accentuated by a tear mole and her disheveled hair, exuded a lazy charm that belied the mischief of the previous night's gaming escapade. Zhang Yuyi, 4 years Zhang's senior, was the playful yet caring figure in his life, often blurring the lines between aunt and friend. As Zhang approached, the dynamics of their unconventional family unfolded, revealing a tapestry of love, support, and the occasional headache-inducing late-night gaming session. Zhang Yuanqing emerged from his room to find his aunt, who was a few years older than him, wiping porridge from the corner of her mouth in surprise. "Wow, it's unlike you to be up so early," she remarked, her tone playful yet warm. "Credit goes to your excellent parenting," Zhang Yuanqing retorted with a hint of sarcasm. "How can you speak to people like that?" she chided, though her eyes sparkled with amusement. I'm merely stating the facts, Zhang Yuanqing replied, his gaze lingering on his aunt's radiant face. Despite the common belief that staying up late would result in dark circles under one's eyes, his aunt seemed immune to this rule. Her energy and beauty were undiminished, a stark contrast to the night's toll on most. The sound of their banter drew the attention of his grandmother from the kitchen. She soon appeared, bearing a bowl of porridge, her hair a blend of black and silver, her gaze sharp. At first glance, she might have seemed stern, but the soft wrinkles and sagging skin hinted at a once delicate beauty. Accepting the porridge from his grandmother, Zhang Yuanqing eagerly took a sip before inquiring, "Where's Grandpa?" "Out for his morning walk," his grandmother responded. His grandfather, a retired criminal policeman, adhered to a strict routine, embodying discipline even in his advanced years. As they enjoyed their breakfast, his aunt, with a mischievous smile, offered, "After we eat, I'll take you shopping for some new clothes." Zhang Yuanqing was about to accept when he caught a warning glare from his grandmother. "If you even think about going, I'll break your legs," she threatened, her tone half serious. "Mom, why must you be so harsh?" his aunt protested, her expression turning to one of mock hurt. "I just wanted to buy Yuanzi some spring clothes. Is that so wrong?" Despite the distance, he's still family. The grandmother, unamused by the plea, shot back, "Would you like your legs broken as well?" Defeated, his aunt sulked and returned to her porridge. Zhang Yuanqing, observing the exchange, understood the underlying tension. His grandmother was likely arranging another blind date for his aunt, who, in her typical fashion, sought to involve him in her schemes to disrupt the plans. Vol 2, Chapter 161, Setting Off. The early morning sun bathed the Corellia neighborhood in a warm glow, and the cool, fresh air was invigorating. Tang Xiao stood on the balcony, observing police cars and ambulances darting across the sky to various locations within the block. When he shared his observations with the doctor, the response was one of confusion and alarm, leading to a recommendation to visit the psychiatry department. Ultimately, the hospital was unable to diagnose the cause of his condition. It was only after his mother procured a special medicine from abroad that his symptoms were managed. Regular intake of the medication prevented further episodes. "It must be because I didn't get enough rest last night. I was exhausted. It's all Jiang Yuyi's fault for insisting on playing games in my room until the wee hours," he muttered, though a sense of unease weighed on him. Zhang Yuanqing was aware that the medication's effectiveness was waning and his condition was deteriorating. "I'll have to increase the dosage in the future," he resolved. Slipping into cotton slippers, Zhang Yuanqing approached the window and drew the curtains open in one swift motion. Sunlight flooded the room, heralding a bright spring day in Shanghai City. The morning breeze was cool and pleasant. A knock on the door interrupted his thoughts, followed by his grandmother's voice. "Motoko, wake up." "I can't get up," Zhang Yuanqing protested, longing to return to sleep. The allure of a lazy weekend morning was too tempting to resist. "Give you 3 minutes, or I'm coming in," his grandmother threatened. I know, Zhang Yuanqing conceded, knowing all too well that his grandmother meant business. After his father's tragic death in a car accident during his elementary school years, his resilient mother chose not to remarry. Instead, she returned to Shanghai with her son, entrusting his care to his grandparents while she immersed herself in her career, earning accolades from relatives for her strength and determination. Despite his mother purchasing a house, Zhang Yuanqing preferred the warmth of his grandparents' home. His mother's hectic schedule meant she was rarely home, leaving financial support as her primary means of care. "Is there enough money? If not, just tell me," she would often say, embodying the role of a financially supportive parent. Yet, Zhang Yuanqing found contentment in the modest allowances from his grandmother and aunt. Speaking of his aunt, she was the very person who had disrupted his sleep the previous night with her gaming. Yawning, Zhang Yuanqing opened his bedroom door and stepped into the living room of his grandmother's spacious 150-square-meter home, which had appreciated significantly in value over the years thanks to his grandfather's foresight. At the dining table, the cause of his headache, Jiang Yuyi, was noisily enjoying her porridge. Her pink slippers dangled playfully under the table. Her beauty was undeniable, with delicate features and a sweet oval face, accentuated by a tear mole at the corner of her right eye. Her disheveled hair added a touch of laziness and allure to her appearance. Zhang Yuyi, 4 years his senior, was indeed a captivating presence in Zhang Yuanqing's life. Zhang Yuanqing emerged from his room to find his aunt wiping porridge from her mouth, her expression one of mild surprise. "Wow, it's unlike you to be up so early," she remarked. "It's all thanks to your stellar parenting," Zhang Yuanqing retorted with a hint of sarcasm. "How can you speak to someone like that?" his aunt chided. "I'm merely stating the facts," he replied, his gaze lingering on his aunt's radiant face. Despite the common belief that staying up late results in dark circles, this rule didn't seem to apply to her. She was as vibrant and captivating as ever. Hearing the commotion, their grandmother peeked out from the kitchen. Moments later, she emerged, bearing a bowl of porridge. Her hair, a blend of black and silver, framed a face marked by sharp eyes and a stern demeanor, hinting at a once streaked king beauty now softened by age. Accepting the porridge, Zhang Yuanqing asked, "Where's Grandpa?" "Out for his morning walk," his grandmother replied. His grandfather, a retired detective, adhered to a strict routine, embodying discipline even in his advanced years. As they ate, his aunt, ever the optimist, proposed, "After breakfast, I'll take you shopping for some new clothes." Zhang Yuanqing was about to accept when a stern look from his grandmother stopped him in his tracks. "Dare to go, and I'll break your legs," she threatened. "Why must you be so harsh?" his aunt protested, her mood dampened. "I just wanted to buy Yuanzi some spring clothes. Is that so wrong?" The underlying tension hinted at a familiar scenario. His grandmother was likely arranging another blind date for his aunt, who in turn sought to disrupt the plans by involving him. This tactic had become a routine. His presence at these blind dates often served to divert attention, allowing his aunt to escape the scrutiny of potential suitors. Zhang Yuanqing, known for his charm and popularity among the elders, understood his grandmother's protective instincts. She had always been strict, forbidding any form of early romance and closely monitoring her daughter's interactions with the opposite sex. Despite these restrictions, his aunt had remained single well into her adulthood, prompting their grandmother to take action as her 25th birthday passed. "Grandma, she clearly doesn't want to be set up with anyone. Forcing her won't make her happy," Zhang Yuanqing reasoned, offering himself as an alternative for the blind dates. "Why not arrange one for me? I'm quite the catch." His grandmother dismissed the idea with a wave of her hand. "You're still young. There's no rush. Can't you find someone at university? Keep up this nonsense, and you'll have me to answer to." Despite her small stature, their grandmother was a force to be reckoned with. Her fiery temper and strong will were well known within the family, making even Zhang Yuanqing, accustomed to the corporate world's assertiveness, wary of crossing her. As he navigated these family dynamics, Zhang Yuanqing couldn't help but admire the strength and complexity of the women in his life, each carving their own path with determination and resilience. For several years, Zhang Yuanqing had harbored a thought in his heart. After breakfast, at his grandmother's insistent request, his aunt retreated to her room to change her clothes and apply makeup before heading out on a blind date. She chose light makeup, which accentuated her natural beauty, making her appear radiant and captivating. Her outfit consisted of a fluffy crewneck sweater paired with a long coat and light-colored, slim-fit jeans that hugged her long, well-proportioned legs. The jeans tapered into narrow cuffs, which were neatly tucked into a pair of black Martin boots. Her style was simple and unpretentious, yet meticulously put together. Casting a knowing glance at Zhang Yuanqing, she picked up her bag, sashayed her hips, and announced, "Mom, I'm off to my blind date," before leaving the house. Zhang Yuanqing then hurried back to his room to dress in a black t-shirt, a jacket, and running shoes. When he emerged a few minutes later, his grandmother paused her cleaning to give him a silent look. Mimicking his aunt's tone, he joked, "Mom, I'm off on a blind date too." "Go back," his grandmother retorted, brandishing her broom threateningly. "Dare to step out, and I'll break your legs." "All right," Zhang Yuanqing obediently retreated to his bedroom. Sitting at his desk, he texted his aunt, facing death as if it were homecoming. A hero shed silent tears. His aunt, likely busy driving, replied succinctly, I was stopped by Grandma. You go on the blind date. Zhang Yuanqing then received a call from Zhang Yuyi, whose voice blared from his phone speaker. What do you want? His aunt sent another voice message, this time in a coquettish and cute tone. Dear nephew, hurry over. Your auntie loves you the most. Moi. Zhang Yuanqing can't help but think, acting so sweetly, does she think I'll brave Grandma's wrath for her? She should at least offer a red envelope as a bribe. Just then, a shrill ringtone interrupted his thoughts. He walked to the living room, where his grandmother was watching, and answered the building's intercom. Yes? Delivery, came the reply. Zhang Yuanqing pressed the door release button. A few minutes later, a delivery person arrived at their door, package in hand, asking, Zhang Yuanqing? That's me. Zhang Yuanqing signed for the package, puzzled since he hadn't ordered anything online. The sender's details were missing, but the address was from Hangcheng, Jiangnan province, nearby. Back in his room, he retrieved a paper cutter from his desk drawer and opened the package. Inside, cushioned by an anti-fall air cushion, was a black card and a yellow letter. The card, roughly the size of an ID card and seemingly made of metal, felt surprisingly warm to the touch. It was beautifully crafted, with a light silver cloud pattern adorning its edges and a black full moon at the center. The moon's surface was intricately detailed, showing its irregular patches clearly. Curious, Zhang Yuanqing opened the letter. Motoko, I've come across something fascinating. I thought it could change my life, but it seems I lack the ability to control it. I believe you'll have no such trouble. This is my gift to you. Lei Yibing. The letter left Zhang Yuanqing with more questions than answers, his curiosity piqued by the mysterious gift and the sender's intentions. Vol 2, Chapter 162, The Northern Situation, 1. Tang Xiao had a history with the planet Odor Mantle. During his apprenticeship under Darth Plagueis, he was once dispatched to Odor Mantle to decimate a casino. However, when he shared this peculiar memory with his doctor, the doctor was baffled and recommended a visit to the psychiatry department instead. The hospital was at a loss regarding his condition. It was only after his mother procured a special medication from abroad that his symptoms were managed. As long as he adhered to the medication schedule, he remained stable. It must be because I didn't get enough rest last night. I was too exhausted. It's all Zhang Yuyi's fault for insisting on playing games in my room until the wee hours, he rationalized. Yet deep down, Zhang Yuanqing felt a growing concern. He noticed the medication's efficacy was diminishing, and his condition was worsening. I'll have to increase the dosage, he decided. Slipping into cotton slippers, Zhang Yuanqing approached the window and briskly drew the curtains. Sunlight flooded the room, heralding a bright spring morning in Songhai City. The cool, refreshing breeze was a welcome sensation. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts, followed by his grandmother's voice. Motoko, wake up! I can't get up, Zhang Yuanqing protested, longing to return to his slumber. The allure of sleeping in on a bright spring weekend was too tempting to resist. 3 minutes. If you're not up, I'm coming in, his grandmother threatened. I know, he conceded, knowing all too well his grandmother's determination. After his father's tragic death in a car accident during his elementary years, Zhang Yuanqing's resilient mother chose not to remarry. Instead, she returned to Songhai with her son, entrusting his care to his grandparents while she immersed herself in her career, earning accolades from her peers. Despite his mother purchasing a house, Zhang Yuanqing preferred the warmth of his grandparents' home. His mother's relentless work ethic meant she was rarely home, leaving him to be raised by his grandparents and his aunt, the very person who had disrupted his sleep the previous night. Yawning, Zhang Yuanqing opened his bedroom door and stepped into the living room. The house, boasting an area of 150 square meters, was a testament to his grandfather's foresight. The property's value had nearly doubled over the years, a fact that Zhang Yuanqing found both impressive and daunting. At the dining table, the cause of his recent headache was noisily enjoying her porridge. Her pink slippers dangled playfully as she ate. Her features were delicate, her face sweet with a charming mole near her right eye. Her disheveled hair added a touch of allure to her appearance. Zhang Yuanqing couldn't help but observe his aunt, the woman who had innocently caused him so much trouble, yet remained an integral part of his family's life. Zhang Yuanqing's aunt, Zhang Yuyi, who is 4 years his senior, was taken aback as she saw him emerge early in the morning. Wiping away the porridge from her mouth, she exclaimed, "Wow, it's unlike you to be up so early." "Credit goes to your mother," Zhang Yuanqing retorted. "How can you speak ill of someone like that?" she chided. "I'm merely stating the facts," he replied, his gaze lingering on his aunt's radiant face. Despite the common belief that staying up late results in dark circles, this rule didn't seem to apply to her. She looked vibrant and full of life. Hearing the commotion, their grandmother peeked out from the kitchen. Moments later, she emerged with a bowl of porridge. Her hair, a blend of black and silver, framed a face that, despite its age, hinted at a once striking beauty. Her sharp eyes and stern demeanor suggested she was not one to be trifled with. Accepting the porridge from his grandmother, Zhang Wenqing took a hearty sip before inquiring, "Where's Grandpa?" "Out for his morning walk," she replied. His grandfather, a retired detective, adhered to a strict routine, emphasizing the importance of regularity even in his old age. As they ate, his aunt, with a smile, offered, "After breakfast, I'll take you shopping for some new clothes." Skeptical of her sudden generosity, Zhang Yuanqing was about to accept when his grandmother shot him a warning glance, threatening, "If you dare go, I'll break your legs." "Why must you react so harshly?" his aunt protested, her mood dampened. "I simply wish to buy Yuanzi some spring attire, yet you disapprove?" Despite the distance, he's still family. The grandmother remained unyielding, her threat extending even to her daughter. Zhang Yuanqing, familiar with this dynamic, understood the underlying tension. His grandmother was likely arranging another blind date for his aunt, who, in turn, sought to involve him as a distraction. This tactic had been employed before. His aunt would bring him along to blind dates, where his presence would ease the atmosphere, allowing her to casually engage in conversation while he played the role of the attentive nephew. This strategy often left her dates impressed with her social acumen, all while she remained disinterested, preoccupied with her phone. Zhang Yui had always been the darling of the neighborhood, charming, polite, and well-liked by the older generation. Such attributes made her a prime candidate for her grandmother's vigilant matchmaking. Throughout her adolescence, romantic relationships were strictly forbidden, a rule she adhered to until her college graduation. However, as she ventured into adulthood and surpassed the age of 25, her grandmother grew anxious, eager to see her settled. "Grandma, it's clear she's not interested in these setups." "Forcing her won't change her feelings," Zhang Yuanqing interjected, attempting to lighten the mood with a suggestion. "Why not arrange a blind date for me instead? I'm quite the catch." His grandmother, unamused, dismissed his jest. "You're still young. With all your female classmates, surely you can find someone on your own. Keep up this nonsense, and you'll have me to answer to." Despite her stern exterior, his grandmother's concern for their well-being was evident, a trait characteristic of her southern heritage, yet contradicted by her fiery temper. Zhang Yuanqing's grandmother was a formidable woman, not easily swayed or opposed, even by her own family members. Zhang Yuanqing, despite having grown into adulthood and gaining years of experience as a craftsman, found himself muttering under his breath about his independence, yet he still couldn't muster the courage to contradict his grandmother openly. Following a hearty breakfast, under his grandmother's insistent urging, his aunt reluctantly retreated to her room to freshen up and dress for a blind date. She emerged looking radiant, her light makeup enhancing her natural beauty. Dressed in a fluffy crewneck sweater paired with a long coat and light-colored, slim-cut jeans that accentuated her long, shapely legs, she was the epitome of understated elegance. The ensemble was completed with black marten boots, into which the narrow cuffs of her jeans were neatly tucked. Her style was simple, devoid of ostentation, yet meticulously put together. With a knowing glance at Zhang Yuanqing, she announced her departure for the blind date, her demeanor confident as she left the house. Zhang Yuanqing, feeling a mix of amusement and solidarity, quickly changed into a casual outfit of a black t-shirt, a jacket, and running shoes. As he made to leave, his grandmother, busy cleaning in the living room, halted her chores to fix him with a silent, penetrating gaze. Mimicking his aunt's earlier announcement with a hint of jest, he declared his own departure for a blind date. His grandmother's response was swift and unequivocal. Her threat to break his legs if he dared leave, delivered with a broom in hand, was enough to send him retreating back to his room without protest. Resigned to his fate, Zhang Yuanqing messaged his aunt, humorously lamenting his inability to leave and jokingly referring to himself as a tragic hero. His aunt, likely busy, driving, responded succinctly, advising him to proceed with the blind date on his own. Amidst this exchange, an unexpected delivery arrived. Zhang Yuanqing, puzzled since he hadn't ordered anything online, signed for the package. Inside, he found a black card and a yellow letter, both cushioned against falls. The card, metallic yet warm to the touch, was beautifully crafted with a silver cloud pattern bordering a black full moon. The moon's surface was detailed, its irregular patches clearly visible, piquing Zhang Yuanqing's curiosity. He then turned his attention to the letter, which hinted at the mysterious nature of the item he'd just received. It was from Lei Yibing, a name that stirred a sense of anticipation within him. The letter spoke of an intriguing object that held the potential to change one's life, yet Lei Yibing admitted his inability to harness its power. He believed, however, that Zhang Yuanqing would be capable of controlling it, presenting it as a gift to him. The letter concluded with a note about the closure of a website and encouraged the download of a reading app for further engagement with the story. This unexpected gift and the mysterious message it carried promised to usher Zhang Yuanqing into an adventure that could very well alter the course of his life. Vol 2, Chapter 1163, Spreading Falsehoods. Initially, the Galactic Republic was at a loss regarding the origins, intentions, or even the name of the mysterious mechanical race they encountered. It was only after intercepting communications during several fleet skirmishes that they decrypted the repeated mention of the word Geth. This revelation led them to understand that their adversaries identified themselves as the Geth. From the outset, the Republic's local defense fleets were significantly outmatched by the Geth, resulting in the loss of numerous colonies and planets. Despite the Geth fleet's modest size and the smaller scale of their warships, they possessed a formidable advantage. The Geth did not require life support systems within their ships, as they were entirely mechanical beings, with the ships themselves being super-mechanical entities. This high degree of automation meant that a Geth warship, despite its size, boasted combat capabilities at least 5 times greater than those of a Galactic Republic warship of comparable size. The first significant encounter between the Galactic Republic and the Geth occurred when the fleet of the Interstellar Banking Association and the Fourth Group launched a raid on the planet Janfatar, only to be interrupted by a large-scale Geth intervention. During this encounter, Jedi Master Thastin engaged in direct combat with the Geth. However, due to his lack of familiarity with the Geth and underestimation of their capacity for deception, Thastin was defeated. Following this, Thastin took on the role of advisor to the 8th Army of the Galactic Republic, dedicating himself to the struggle against the Geth. Meanwhile, the Galactic Republic engaged in extensive discussions and investigations into the origins of the Geth. Through relentless hyperspace scanning, they determined that the Geth fleet had a central hub located in the northern part of the Milky Way, on a planet at the outer edge of the 8th Army's jurisdiction. Attempts to locate this planet through gravitational waves were futile, as no corresponding planet could be found on the galaxy's star maps. This led to the conclusion that the planet was either uncharted or had been deliberately omitted from the maps. The nature and origins of the Geth became a subject of intense speculation among Republic scientists. Observations of the Geth's weaponry and equipment, which bore distinct insectoid bionic imprints, along with the analysis of remains found on battlefields, suggested that the Geth operated as a Gestalt consciousness. This theory posited that while individual Geth possessed limited intelligence, capable only of basic actions, they were collectively governed by a highly advanced super AI. Further studies into the physical characteristics of the Geth, such as their reverse-jointed legs, flexible limbs, and flashlight-like heads, failed to match any known species in galactic history. This led to speculation that the Geth might be remnants of a lost civilization. One compelling theory, proposed by some scientists, was that the Geth were relics of the Killik swarm, a species that had been active in the Milky Way approximately 100,000 years ago. Despite the obscurity of the Killik swarm among the general populace, Republic scientists were well versed in their history and had conducted extensive research on them. They were aware of the Killik swarm's ancient activity and the development of a highly specialized and aberrant offshoot. In an era marked by astonishing technological advancements, the Galactic Republic was established over 10,000 years ago. However, the civilization that preceded it, known as the Killik swarm, vanished more than 35,000 years ago due to a mysterious catastrophe. Given this historical context, it was logical for scholars to speculate that the Geth, with their insectoid, bionic spacecraft and equipment, as well as their collective consciousness, were remnants of the Killik swarm. The technological prowess exhibited by the Geth matched what was attributed to the Killik swarm in ancient time. Furthermore, the varied appearances of Geth individuals could be explained by the diversity within the Killik swarm, where each subgroup had distinct characteristics. One question that puzzled many was why the Killik swarm, an insect race with an abundance of labor, would create a mechanical race like the Geth. The answer proposed by the scientists of the Galactic Republic was born from their imaginative speculation. They theorized that over 35,000 years ago, facing the threat of extinction, the Killik swarm engineered the Geth as a means to survive the impending doom. Unfortunately, the catastrophe that eradicated the Killik swarm left the Geth to endure. These mechanical beings lay dormant in a factory on a remote planet at the galaxy's edge, inactive for 100,000 years following the demise of their creators. It was only recently, amid the chaos of war and exploration, that a group of explorers stumbled upon this planet, inadvertently reawakening the Geth. As the factory whirred back to life and the dormant supercomputers rebooted, the Geth re-entered the galaxy, only to find it vastly changed and inhabited by unfamiliar species. Programmed with the directive to protect and rebuild the Killik swarm, the Geth embarked on a path of destruction. Seizing the turmoil of the ongoing war as an opportunity, they established a mechanical planet and an industrial empire, challenging all sentient life forms. The theories concocted by the scientists were so detailed and convincing that they began to believe them themselves. Some went as far as to draft a comprehensive paper, over 100,000 words in length, and submitted it to the Supreme Strategic Command of the Republic. This paper meticulously analyzed the supposed motives and methods behind the Killik swarm's creation of the Geth, even asserting that their ultimate target would be the planet Alderaan, believed to be the cradle of the Killik swarm. If Tang Xiao were to come across this paper, he would likely be unable to contain his laughter. The origins and nature of the Geth, even unknown to him, had been elaborately fabricated by the Republic's scientists into a narrative so compelling that it almost seemed believable.